action. Clack, clack. Welcome back to Desperation Point. Clack. We don't have one of those, but you are seeing us on video. I think this is the 7th video we've done at this point. I think we've done more than I recognize. I was going into YouTube today, or the other day. I was looking at what had been uploaded. I think this is like the 7th video, but we're actually on game session 25.
Okay,
25. Viewers or listeners, correct us if we're wrong, but I'm pretty sure we are. I can tell you, I can just look in Google Drive where we save everything, like the smart person I am, and actually tell you where we're at. Usually, I know Mike tracks that sometimes, and
yeah, it's 25.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, because session 24 is uploaded this week. So yeah, welcome back to Desperation Point. So some interesting news to share. First and foremost, for those who are watching, Flames of Freedom is gone gold, as they say, or in the video game industry, they say gone gold, gone to print. It's done. This is actually one of 3 folders. I printed it out in heavy stock paper. Part of my ritual of completing books is always to print one out for the game table, whether it be virtual or in person, in this case, both. So it's done and ready, which is exciting news. So if you haven't checked it out yet, you can grab the free quick play on TTRPG, or if you're feeling really spicy, you just go pre-order it on Amazon. It'll be out September 21st, I believe, this year. But the PDF will be released to our Kickstarter backers in May, so well ahead of street date. Second thing, the exciting thing. Wow, Kay, you turned black and white. That was weird. That was the second thing I was excited about. So the third thing. The third thing the one I'm really excited about. So Tim Coron is now fully vaccinated and joining us next week in person for Desperation Point. He's coming over in a few days to make a character. He'll be joining us mid-campaign, and we'll be doing that.
Yay!
Yeah. Always happy to have Tim around the table.
Yeah, It's good to have.
What a great addition to the group.
We've been playing. I wouldn't call it a skeleton crew. We've been playing with the best of the best for a while, and Tim was just busy and COVID and everything else, and life changes, and now almost a year and 2 months later, he'll be back. He's super excited to play. He was asking about the story. I saw him over the weekend. He's asking about the story, and I was like, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but they're back in the north. He's like, oh, we get to find out what happened, and I was like, yeah, kind of. So he's gonna make a character, and he'll be joining us next week. The fourth thing I'm excited about, is that we're actually going to resume playing in person in probably June-ish. Once everybody's got their last shot and 14 days out, with a few kind of stragglers, but we're all going to reconvene in June, we think. And what we'll probably end up doing in June is we'll bring this campaign to a pause or a close. We'll figure out what we want to do there, and we're going to finish Queen of Embers, which, for those who may remember, I believe our last recorded episode was episode 69.
Was it 69 or was it 70?
We wouldn't do it, but we're gonna do it.
69. I actually listened to it today. It was the escape from the mines. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
In the airship.
Like went back for a character.
Madeline is now airborne. Yeah, that was the, oh my god, the mines are exploding and crashing around us, and people almost died. And Mike's character, whose name I forget, I apologize, made a pretty big sacrifice leading up to that.
Harper,
Claviger.
Yeah. I was like, it's not Hamish, it's Harper.
Yeah, Harper turned pacifist that last campaign arc in the last chapter, the chapter before this. So we're going to return to Queen of Embers, which will be fun and weird and awesome, and finally bring that story to a close, which I think everyone will be super excited about. We're hoping we get Jason back too on that as well. I know he's expressed interest, but it's always a matter of timing and who is and who is not vaccinated. I don't know if he's been vaccinated yet or not, but yeah. So we're gonna do that, and that'll happen a little bit later this year because it's April currently. So a couple months. We'll all be back in person, and we'll be talking about starting up Queen of Embers again, almost a year and a half later, which is crazy awesome. Especially because I bought the Wizards of the Coast giant model ship for the game before we actually stopped playing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Suffice it to say, I was very reticent at first to even revisit the story, but I talked to everybody after the last game session or the session before that, and you all kind of convinced me to do it. And then I started re-listening and rewatching episodes. I was like, oh my god, like we have to finish
There's
this.
so many storylines that get tied up. It's just gonna kill me if it doesn't.
Yeah. And I think we'll be heading toward publication of that too in 2023. That's probably a reality at this point. So exciting stuff all around. But for now, we are here to play some Desperation Points.
Team Soup Stained.
Team Soup Stain, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Session 25. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to roll for coins. Everybody roll a D6 Chaos die, if you will.
Cows. Oh, there's a 6.
Oh, sweet. I got 2 coins so far.
3.
3 for Kai.
2.
Oh, boo, I wanted more. Okay. Let's go ahead and do initiative now, if we can. Initiate initiative. Huzzah.
I got a 10.
Or huzzah.
Jeez. So Keegan's going first so that he can delay his action.
Keegan's going first so that people can tell him what to do. Yeah.
Seize the day. That's right. Tell me
Okay.
what to do.
What are the numbers?
16.
17.
Ooh.
For Calvin. 17 for Collinsworth.
Super Redding Brothers.
And what was Keegan?
21.
Yeah.
I just realized that Calvin, Keegan, and Collinsworth, despite the fact that they start with different letters, have the same phonetic sound.
Mhm.
I think this is why I got so confused on character names when we first started playing remote. I was like, Keegan,
me.
Keegan Collinsworth.
Yeah, maybe that's why Nick messed up the initiative so much.
Blame Jeremy.
Yeah. I blame Jeremy for my name.
Yeah.
I got to pick a C name.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Reddings do.
Yep.
I saw him the other night on Defenders of Cobalt playing
Nice.
Zweihander, and there's some mention of somebody named, I guess Chuck named some character Gwydion.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jeremy started talking about
Whole Iron Eye.
Iron Eye. That's right. Yeah, the Redding, the Redding name, the surname Redding is carried on by Jeremy Jones, who you can watch on Defenders of Cobalt. I think I don't know where else he plays, but a little bit everywhere, I think, at this point.
He plays with the Lollygaggers, Defenders of Cobalt. Those are the main places.
Not with us, that son of a bitch. Despite the fact that
We start too
You
early.
do start
right.
too early.
Jump in at 8 o'clock. He's like, oh, I can't do it, man. So
You just need to get home from work, take a nap, then start later.
Their games like start at 9 at the earliest.
oh my god, yeah,
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's right in for him then. Cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about last week. Last week on Desperation Point. What happened?
I flew away on my broom.
You did fly away on your broom.
I just noped my way out of that situation.
So we started off like while we were on the chase towards the castle.
Yeah, that's right.
and
Yeah.
we were like getting surrounded by
Uh-huh.
the townsfolk.
Mm-hmm.
The townsfolk.
Mhm.
Yeah. How'd that turn out? What happened?
So we started heading up the narrow pathway as the townsfolk started swarming, and we found out that they were not townsfolk at all, but some sort of creepy villager type things that weren't living humans. We continued up the trail, eventually making it close to the top, where we were greeted by the Crow Master, who gave us some hell, and we managed to finally fight back the townspeople and make it up into the castle, where the portcullis was pretty much shut, and like almost impossible to get in. And
What happened after that? Let somebody else pick up.
I mean, like we pretty much took most of the night with the fight, but then we tried to get in
We got it.
the castle. We had Calvin scout ahead on his broom, and
Tackling for you, by the way.
yeah, then we had to like do the whole like deal where we like pull up the portcullis and then one person goes under and
jumps back on. Holds
yeah.
back.
Yep. So we were able to muscle our way in, I believe. Got
Yeah.
everyone in because the chains had been broken, so that way the portcullis could not normally have been lifted. So
Portal Cuss is Spartacus's brother.
portcullis-
Yeah,
Yeah.
in fact, I think there was like an effort to use like a splitting mallet, a splitting
Yeah,
maul,
kind of like
to wedge it
just
open,
didn't
yeah.
work.
yeah.
and then it literally split the splitting maul like shing,
Yeah.
because the portcullis was. What
It's
is
too
portcullis?
dang- It's portcullis. I'm making
Portcullis,
it. I
yeah.
said it weird on purpose.
Portcullis, the Spartacus. No, I was making fun of Mike. I just assumed he was on
I
it.
s- I
Maybe
called
I
it-
heard it incorrectly.
I said
don't know.
portcullis to be silly, but it is
Yeah.
portcullis.
I'm gonna call it portcullis.
Portcullis.
The portcullis was split the mallet. Yeah, so yeah, you all kind of made your way underneath.
I think we kind of ended there, didn't we?
We did, yeah. We all kind of made it
Mhm.
inside, and now you're like trapped inside the courtyard of this mysterious castle.
I mean, you guys are all trapped, but
That's right.
See ya.
Yeah, he can just fly out of there. He's got the magic broom. Real quick question before we start. Did everyone have an opportunity to look through the sections I recommended you look at for Flames of Freedom before the game tonight?
No, not yet.
I skimmed through alchemy after last game session.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the things to kind of pay attention to before we start, I would recommend reading Afflictions. It's going to be an important one for two people around the game table. And then Adam, I don't think you're really impacted. You just got to look at the threats section.
That's yeah, just to see what I want to chase after. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll just dive right in. So we know it's kind of a cold summer storm brewing overhead, or has been storming, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's just kind of slow, steady, driving rain. Just out of curiosity, can you all hear that?
A little bit.
The
Yeah.
rain? Okay, good. I noticed on the recording that it wasn't picking it up, which is awesome, because we want that for us here in person and you all, of course. And then, so it's not coming up on the recording when we record during the week. Nonetheless, it's a slow, steady driving rain, and you're standing directly beneath the what would be the equivalent of what is typically called, you might hear of skill rank in warfare. I don't know if you have it or not. Oh my god, we're double
No.
up. That's
I
weird.
say, kind of looks like Nick is a monitor.
Yeah, so it's yeah, that was weird. The first thing that you know, so who had a skill rank in warfare? I'm sorry, anybody?
No one.
No one.
Okay.
I remember that Calvin asked that. Like, anyone have any idea, like, how to get in this place?
You're standing beneath
Warfare.
this like stone overhang that runs about 15 feet ahead, and the first thing that you notice at your feet looks like what you thought was like these blocks of stone, but then you realize there are these people lying on the ground, frozen in sheer terror, encased in this black, hardened, calcified liquid. And your eyes, and you can see it's kind of splashed everywhere along the stone walls too. And as your eyes kind of look upward, you can see these open portholes overhead and these huge, like, cauldrons dangling from chains precariously overhead, massive cauldrons. And it kind of evokes this imagery of like what it would be like to storm a castle and have hot burning oil poured on you. But these people have been preserved in that sense, in this state of fear and terror and pain, as they are kind of scattered amid the ground on the stone floor here as you're walking through this kind of short 15-foot long hallway beneath what you characters wouldn't know, but it's called a murder room. And you emerge out into the storm as the rain's coming down from the sky. It's gray and overcast. You can see the flashing of lightning in the among the clouds. It's daytime, but it is overcast naturally, and there's a kind of light fog that seems to encompass everything, making it difficult to really make out how big this courtyard is. Your eyes kind of follow these gray shadows all around you as it kind of follows where they connect to either a stone tower behind you, and you can look around where the wall connects to a nearby hill. And it appears that this whole thing is like a concentric wall that's not meant to be walked, mind you, because it is so high up. And why would you need to man a wall when you can't, when everybody's far down below in the valley? But what you do find, almost in the dead center of this kind of hexagonal concentric wall, is this large gray stone, sad-looking building. It appears almost completely featureless, save for some second, third, and fourth floor windows. This massive gray stone slab of a building is affixed, has affixed upon this low kind of this low rocky ground that's covered in algae, and you can see that there is a low moat that surrounds it, as well as the drawbridge that would extend from the building outward is halfway down over the moat, which if you kind of begin your approach is about 15 feet up. You can't reach it, but the drawbridge is not completely down at this point.
What's in the moat?
You kind of look down and you can see that water has kind of gathered, right? The moat is mostly empty, save for the rainwater. But the thing that you immediately notice is that it looks like there's these old gray rotted sticks that are about 12 inches in width that have been driven like piers into the earth down below about 15-ish feet, meant to ensure that should people be pushed off the bridge or off the land here, they would be skewered like some slab of money meat or barbecue to be found back in Stonehold. How much damage does it do? All the damage.
Enough.
All the damage to kill you. Somebody asked, like, how much damage does lava do in D&D? Enough to kill you. So it's Zweihander. Yeah, if you were to fall into that, it would mean you're doomed. You may be lucky and hopefully just have an appendage skewered, but it would be very precarious to fall down in there, and you certainly couldn't navigate in it.
Yeah, what about if you like lost a couple legs and an arm, you know, and then needed a breathing apparatus?
Right.
But Calvin is disappointed that the moat is not filled with bears.
Yeah, it's a moat full of piñatas, and those piñatas have rotten spoiled milk and scorpions inside.
I mean, I have seen a moat filled with bears before, like in real life. It's a thing.
Bear moat.
It is, yeah.
So the rain is driving down. This is the building you saw before, Calvin.
Okay.
It's you're starting now. You can kind of see how you realize that the people were actually who you saw before were inside this courtyard. They were somewhere inside here. So immediately you're like, are they in the gatehouse? Are they in the main building? I have no idea. If they were out here, you'd see them. That's for sure.
Because I remember seeing 2 people. So
You did.
the Crow Master, perhaps being one of them. No.
The gatekeeper and the Crowmaster.
Yeah.
Zool.
We should still keep our eyes open and guard up. But there's probably still someone else within these walls.
Make my way around this building just to see
Okay.
if there's any other point of entry.
Good call. You kind of patrol around the back side of the building, all around it, and the moat is irregular, right? As is the building. In fact, this would be called a donjon, Donjon, the central most stronghold of this castle, and it looks dilapidated and old. You can see the mortar is broken up. The rocks are kind of threatening to fall apart, but they're irregular, meaning they're kind of sticking out in places. You can imagine if you could probably scale this thing if you had the wherewithal and ropes. In the rain, it would probably be near impossible,
Right.
But you could certainly try. But you kind of walk the entire circumference of this central stronghold, and it's completely surrounded by this low moat. There are no other means of ingress or egress that you can see. If there are, they're probably underground.
Are there any other structures within the keep?
In fact, there is. As you come round toward the right-hand side of the stronghold, you can see what looks like would be a serviceable stables, not meant to hold many horse, and certainly nothing that you would find in, say, Stonehold. This whole keep kind of speaks of an era of a bygone day. The stables are simple, exposed to the outside. There are old carts that are outside that have been hacked and hewn to pieces, probably for firewood. There is a blacksmith kind of anvil and forge not far from there, but a very, very old forge in the sense that you would burn lots of hot coals in a kiln old, not like a modern one where you would have like an enclosed iron kiln that would be, powered by bellows and produce a tremendous amount of heat. This is like one of those old ones where it has like I don't know what they call it. I think it's called it's like a bed of coals like 15 feet long. That are constantly shoved inside the stone kiln. It looks like that. And there are no bellows attached to it, although there are smokestacks. They're kind of dilapidated. But that's the only other external buildings that you see, and those are even attached to the wall itself. So if you'd imagine, like, I don't know, like where House Stark was, right? Imagine something like that. Imagine a castle unlike Winterfell. A little bit like that, but on a much smaller scale. But any bit of wood that is here looks like broken chips of teeth, kind of sticking out of the ground. The piers that once supported perhaps some sort of causeway that would lead up to the wall, to the exterior of the stone building. It's been either burned or taken down, or used for firewood. This place is very, very old and has been unoccupied for some time.
So I turned to what was his name?
Dane.
Dane.
Dave.
Dave and Dave or Dean. Okay. Yeah. So I turn to him and say, "How long you reckon this storm's gonna be raging?"
Why would you ask me this question? He says. You can see the coal running down his eyes from the rain.
Well, you've lived around here longer than I have. I've only been here for a couple seasons.
Storms come and go as they please. We are in the rainy season, though.
I was thinking perhaps we could wait this rain out in this stable.
Well, we'd have better luck running the rain out here than in Ravenna, eh?
One could hope.
I saw the rains in Ravenna.
You can see his wife, Annika. She's still looking toward the sky, seeking Kite, but Kite the eagle. But Kite is nowhere in sight. Not surprising. It's raining.
Calvin, if you want to take a look-see around that
All right. See if I can
Not
lower the
sure for that.
drawbridge.
If you can lower the drawbridge, you can, but you know, if you can't, then we'll need to figure something else out. But we're gonna have piss poor luck in this rain. I wager.
Mm-hmm.
So will you recast your spell?
I don't need to. It lasts for hours.
Were you lifting up the portcullis?
I guess. Yeah.
So your concentration.
So
probably
that
broke.
breaks concentration. All right.
Probably so.
All right.
Probably so.
All right. We didn't make any rolls to keep it. That makes sense. All right. So difficulty.
Well, you're unencumbered at this point by anything that be standing your way, so we'll make it routine.
Okay. So routine incantation. That's a 79 chance and a 92 failure.
Wait a second. Let's go back to concentration for a second. I think there's a roll to see if it breaks concentration, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I'll pull it up here and
Let's
Claim
take a look real quick because we want to keep things on the up and up. It will obviously be in the Hexenmeister's Almanac, as they say in Flight Freedom, which I'm accessing now.
I mean, I know there's a rule if you suffer damage, but I'm not sure if you actively
Yeah, so some spells require constant concentration to maintain. You can only concentrate upon one spell at a time, but may cast other spells while concentrating. This is where it gets a little fuzzy, right? So
yeah.
I tell you what do you think? How should this be ruled, Mike? What do you think?
I mean, I was obviously doing something strenuous. Did I take in? The question is, did I take any peril or damage during the time? I don't think I did.
No, but I think this is where we have to. This is the question: is the word concentration implies concentration. It's not just a word without meaning, right? So I mean, let's do it. What do you think works best? I'll go with whatever you want.
I mean, I can re-roll. I'm just because I could see it's like halfway one way and then half a dozen the other. So it's kind of All right. So we rolled. Well, yeah, we failed. So we'll try again. Except this time I'm going to entreat. What is it? The
risk backlash.
Risk backlash. There we go.
So your chance this time will be standard before you start risking. What do you want to? How much do you want to risk?
We'll do it 3. I mean, why not?
Hey,
get a little chaos,
nice.
little something.
Trivial now.
Yeah. All right. Trivial. All right. So that's 30 there and there. So I should have a 96% chance.
Nice.
And I rolled a 97.
Oh my gosh.
Well.
Try as you might. So you used a coin to re-roll, or were you just casting again?
I was just casting again. So
okay, I see. Did you roll your 3d6 chaos?
Oh,
dice?
we're going to now, yeah.
You get 3 conflict for that regardless.
I get 3, 6.
Oh no.
4. All right.
Oh no.
I got a 6.
3 steps. Oof.
Yeah.
That was gonna hurt. As you cast the spell, you can see the color wash from Calvin's face. Oh my god, I'm sorry, I rolled really high. So 17, 18, 19, 20, 26 peril.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Ugh.
All right. So that would be normally 3 steps, but
Give me 3 steps.
I have impervious mind, so that actually is 2 steps.
Nice.
So I go down to ignoring 2 skill ranks.
Impervious mind is great because it saves you from instant incapacitation most of the time.
Yeah.
Right. Most of the time it will. So you see Calvin his spell fizzles and he is drained of his energy. You want to try again?
I'll take a break first. We'll
okay.
Perhaps we should rest. I mean, I'm a bit weary after trying to lift that weight, that gate.
Yeah, don't overextend yourself, friend.
Well, one thing I thought about, and you guys maybe can check out while I'm resting, is there was a Sally Port, I believe is what it was called, at when we were in Sundown Hill. Perhaps there's a similar place of ingress and egress that you can find. But
Scratches his head for a second.
I'm gonna hang out here not in the rain.
The Sally Port at Sundown Hill.
That's at the whole castle, wasn't it?
It was.
Or the whole keep.
Well, I think when we were talking with Sorsha, she mentioned that most, I think, fortifications have a way where the attackers can easily get out, but the defenders would not necessarily know of it. So, anyway, I'm going to take a break here. You guys figure that out.
Yeah, the Sally Port was kind of hidden, so to speak, hard to find. So if we don't know where it is, we may have some trouble.
Huh. But now you have the benefit of being on the inside looking out.
It's a pity you don't have that spell from before, the reagent or what have you.
Well, it's give it some time, but perhaps there's another way in.
Such is the way of things. But I think we should just. Yeah, this rain just really puts a damper on everything. I think we should just retire for the day in this stable here.
So a quick reminder, you all had just awoken.
Yeah, it's pretty
there
early
was
in the day.
About 3 hours ago.
Okay.
but
So
but-
it's not later in the day.
That's right.
Okay.
But if you recall, Osbert was unable to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually you're suffering from sleep deprivation.
Right.
You may want to write that on your character sheet, by the way.
Yeah.
Just as a reminder. Yeah, I have in my notes too.
That's why I keep talking about sleep.
Yeah. Oh, okay. No, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. So it's pretty clear that between Calvin and Osbert, that they desperately need rest. But on the same token, Keegan and Collinsworth, you don't really know what to expect in here. Can you rest for 6 hours? Will you have enough time to do that and stay safe?
Is there a Yelp review we can look at? Does it have Raven reviews?
I rate this in 3 ravens out of 4.
I give it 4 cause.
Oh my
For
God.
a good cause.
Cause and effect.
Is there cause for concern?
I think there is.
I think, yeah, that's 4 so far. Thanks for reminding us, Kay.
Well, I suppose if you do need to catch your breath, you might be able to do that, but I just don't know if all of us will be able to. And there's more that we can find out, even if we can't get into the keep itself. Like, we are now within the portcullis, and we can take a walk around the outer wall.
So you cannot walk around the outer wall because it abuts the edge of the hill. So if you can imagine like a short, raised, hilly plateau,
Yeah.
single winding road that goes up to it. The gatehouse is where the winding road comes, and then the walls meet the side of the plateau. So this place is completely ensconced by this concentric wall, and because it is such an old wall and there's no need to walk the wall, it is not meant to be. There's no like causeway you could walk upon, unless you wanted to get up there and try to do it. I mean, just because there's not a causeway doesn't mean you can't walk it. Just know that there are no battlements to save you from falling off the edge. God knows how many yards down below.
Oh, no, nothing.
To your death.
Remember, this whole castle kind of overlooks that village in the valley where the Raven Husks, the villagers, were living.
No, then I definitely don't want to be taking those sorts of risks. So.
Wow, be adventurous. I will do a handstand on the wall in the rain. No, what about you, Keegan? What are you going to be doing at this point? I mean, you and Collinsworth are the ones who are kind of unencumbered.
Oh yeah,
Go ahead.
Keegan. I am quite bleeding from these rocks I got hit with. Would you mind taking a look?
Oh.
As I remember that my character is actually seriously wounded.
Oh, yes, I suppose I should. Yes. So he steps over and takes a look through, and yeah, I'll go ahead and go for a heal on him. Which, hey, I have my new PDF. I should get the finished rules, right?
Nice.
Let me pull that up.
You
I don't know if we can hear you. No, we
Yeah, you
can't hear
just
you.
cut out.
Okay, sounds fixed. So, will you be leaning into your survival instinct with your affliction on this to benefit you?
Why not? Let's go ahead and use my affliction to my benefit because he asked me to do so.
Yeah, keep in mind that just a quick rule clarification too is that every affliction has you kind of build up a survival instinct that can be used to your benefit. But when you do so, you of course gain conflict.
Yep. 6, right?
It is 6 conflict. That's right. When you take
I'll
it,
use it.
afflictions, survival instincts or survival.
Yeah. So since he requested me to help him heal, then yeah. So I will go ahead. And I'm looking at healing.
Yeah. So what's your current damage condition track at, Calvin?
Oh, I'm seriously wounded.
Seriously? Yeah. So for your purposes, Kay, you will want to be looking at it's right after combat. It's under hazards and healing and horror. So if you're going to, what was your condition? I'm sorry again. I'm so sorry.
Seriously wounded.
Yeah, so page 240 for you. Okay. Be sure to spend bandage, and it'll be a standard heal test.
Yeah, I do have a bandage, an actual bandage. I'm not trying to use dirty.
Dirty bandage.
So my first roll is a 55. You said a standard?
Yeah.
So yeah, that will definitely do it because I have a 64 in healing.
Yeah.
Here, what my assist die? No, I'm cool.
Yeah, if you succeed, there's no reason to continue rolling, really at all.
Right.
No.
So you move 3 steps of the damage condition track positively. Nice.
I do. Well, that's awesome.
Yay!
Thank you, Keegan. Oh, I feel much better.
Bind wounds is much better. Yeah. So you move from
8 bandages.
Hurt to nice. Yeah. So
in the meantime, he's gonna look around and see if anybody else needs healing.
Dane and Annika look hurt, but they don't look like they need to be healed.
I have a bit of a gash here. It's a small one.
Oh, yes.
Currently hurt. Collinsworth?
Yeah.
Yeah, remember, for those who are using the old character sheets to replace lightly wounded with hurt.
So are you actually at level hurt?
Yes. What have I become?
I was just thinking Johnny Cash.
I was I
was thinking Trent Reznor, but
Reznor's
you know.
better. Anyway, so I automatically succeed on that one. So
nice.
Uses a bandage though, so that puts me down to 7.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Curiosity. What's your intelligence bonus, Keegan?
Intelligence is 6.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so you move 1 step up.
So you can you can tell that Osbert is obviously hurt, but he's like kind of spaced out and like not paying attention to the conversation.
So Keegan won't take the initiative to heal him or anything, but he basically like has his bandage out and he goes walking at him and kind of looks at the bandage and looks at Osbert and
are you okay, Osbert?
Like asking if that's what he wants or not, because
Osbert finally notices the bandages. Is like, well, get on with it then. Yes, heal me.
Right then. Yes, I can do that. So step forward. What are you? wounded wise? No, which wounded? You guys cut out again.
Sorry about that. We had a little bit of a connection error with the microphone. Okay, so Kay, go ahead and roll or Keegan, go ahead and roll.
Okay, so you said that you were moderately wounded?
Yes.
Okay, so that puts me at routine. So that means I have a 74. Yeah. And that's an aught 3, so
Nice.
we're good.
Cool. It's one step up.
I am now hurt. Ouchie.
And
Well, that being said, the situation still stands. Osbert is suffering from sleep deprivation. Calvin looks like he's winded.
I suppose you can look
Collins.
around or something. I don't know. Osbert seems a little out of his element. He's just not very at home he's not really at ease when it comes to planning stuff.
oh,
If you couldn't tell by now.
Well, then
I can look around if that's what you'd like. Yeah.
I think that we should look around together.
Oh,
I
yes,
mean,
sure.
even if we can't walk the walls, we can at least go up to the that place where they poured things. I don't know what it's called, but you know, it was above the gate.
Place of death.
I found myself more often in the offices than on the gate pouring things onto people that were coming in.
Some kind of siege tower thing.
Different welcoming committee.
Yes.
I'm not
Oh, that's a good joke.
Joke?
So Keegan and Collinsworth, you leave Osbert and Calvin to rest inside the stable as you go across the courtyard. Still driving cold rain. And you come to the gatehouse. Now, you would expect to find a way in, like a door that would let you go inside either of the towers where the gatehouse is. The challenge is that there's only one door. That door is on the left hand tower of the gatehouse, and it's 15 feet up. In fact, you can see the remnants of where the staircase used to wind its way up, but it has been burned, as Osbert had observed. But you can see now more closely. Coincidentally, that door, or what used to be the door, is gone. There's just an open hole where the door would go about 15 feet up. And you can see that the stone tower is, has stony outcroppings. It's, of course, wet and rainy and covered in algae, but potentially climbable.
Oh,
That's what you wish to do, but
this doesn't look very good. Well, we may have to climb just to get a good view, but I suppose it would be prudent to look around at what we can see first and then go in places that one might slip.
All right. Well, it doesn't seem there's too much more to look. I'm more than willing to still go. It's not
Well,
like we don't have time on our hands at this point.
we were given orders by a fearless leader, so
Of
we
course.
shall oblige.
you wander
Let
about,
us know.
but you find nothing else outside of what I've already described.
Well, fancy a bit of climbing?
Myself. Never been much the climbing sort, but I could attempt, or I could I've got a bit of height to me. I could push someone up a bit and help.
So you're willing to offer assistance in me climbing?
Wow. I simply state that these arms weren't quite made for pulling myself up. That's all.
Well, I will happily accept your assistance. So you should help me climb as well.
Collinsworth and Keegan will try to give Collinsworth a boost and get up there at the door. So, Collinsworth, this is an arduous athletics test.
Yeah.
I do think I'd like to edit the story if at all possible.
Sure. What would you suggest?
So I was thinking, since we happen to be looking all over this place and it happens to be in what is a somewhat mountainous area, it's very possible that on occasion someone has to be able to climb back off the side of the mountain. So there might be, I don't know, an old set of pythons that happen to be around.
Sure. I'll take that coin. Yeah, you find some pythons inside the stable. Now, they're old and rusted, but yeah. You'll drive them into the side of the stone tower. That'll make your test hard, Collinsworth.
Okay, cool.
It's
So hard athletics, and Keegan's assisting, if I'm not mistaken.
Of course.
Keegan, are you leaning into your affliction's survival instinct?
I don't. So here's the question. So I have Alfred Penningworth, right? So with that one, whenever I assist others in the skill test, they get 2 assist dice and they can't crit fail.
Mm-hmm.
So that would automatically give him 2. If I lean into As I'm Told, which is my affliction, I gain another assist die.
Mm-hmm.
But that, from what I'm reading, that means that I get the assist die, not I can hand the assist die to someone. Is that correct or is that wrong?
You get the assist die. That's correct.
Okay, so then it wouldn't stack. It's not like I can give him 3 assist die at that point.
Let's I tell you what, let's take a closer look. I think that's a worthy question. And I want to look myself. So As I Am Told, let's read the effect. You gain an assist die whenever you are told what to do by another in character. I would say it's probably for you.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, that's the assumption at least. So
Okay, so I can't hand him another assist die, so there's no point in me leaning on that affliction.
no.
I'm all for corruption, but
Give me that corruption. Yeah.
but yeah, so I'm not going to do that. I am, however, going to use the Alfred Penningworth. So.
This is not a fail forward test. Go ahead and roll your hard athletics test with your 2 assist dice.
All right, hard will be 40%.
Am I rolling the assist die or you?
Yes, you are. You're rolling the 2 of them.
Okay, my 2 assist die. I rolled a 9 and a 3.
I will take the 3 to make it a 30,
Nice.
and I will succeed.
Collinsworth clambers inside the dark hole where the door used to be on the stone tower. And do you want to step inside? Do you want to try to help Keegan up?
Yeah, I'll say I can lay on my stomach and extend my arm out to help pick you up if you would like to climb. Well, I can check it out myself.
I can attempt.
So Keegan,
All right, get on up here.
make a hard athletics test, and Collinsworth roll an assist die.
Okay. He told me what to do. I'm leaning on As I Am Told.
Okay, so that's 6 conflict again.
Heck yeah, let's go.
Well,
All right. We'll get another affliction sooner rather than later. Okay, so on my standard die, I rolled a 34, which does not do it. With my assist die, nope, 54. So
How about a 2?
hey,
20.
24 will actually do
Nice.
it.
You managed to pull Keegan into the the tower, and you both kind of look down and realize you still have to get down. So that being said, you come inside this stone tower, and the sound of the storm dies down. You can still hear it outside, but it's very dark in here. What do you have to light?
Let me check my trappings.
I do have torches.
What are you carrying your torches in?
I would assume a backpack.
Do you have a backpack?
Shoulder bag. So yes.
Okay. Roll 1d6 cast out. Let's see if those torches are wet.
Okay.
It's raining all day.
4.
Okay. No wet torches, fortunately. You have something to light them with?
No.
No matches, no flint and tinder, no survival kit, anything like
Yeah,
that?
I've got a survival kit.
I'd
So-
say friction. I can go with friction.
You light the torch. It sputters for a moment, and eventually the flame catches and illuminates the inside of this tower. It's dark, and there are these very tight confines of walls, and you can see that you're in some sort of very small, contained chamber that immediately terminates at a wooden door across the way. It's maybe like, I don't know, like 3 strides across at best. It's very tight and comes to a heavy iron door, and it looks like that this door is reinforced, as if somebody was to get inside this tower. It'd be very difficult to get through the door to the other side. You kind of jigga. The door is clearly like locked, or has been locked from the inside. Your eyes kind of search all around in this room, and you can see those strange dark purple handprints all over the walls, kind of ominously, kind of all along the wall where someone could reach, as if whoever had come here before marked their territory.
His hands are unsettling.
A bit, yes.
Gonna look around and see before we walk anywhere else to see if there's any signs of someone actually living up here, or any like common traffic flows, like if there's dirt being dragged through, or a lack of dirt where there's dirt in other areas, those sorts of things.
Yeah, so you're roughly on this. Keep in mind, you're roughly on the 2nd floor, and you've been traipsing around the mud and the muck outside in the rain, and of course your footprints are all over this room. So it's going to be a challenging survival test for you.
Okay.
Can I attempt to assist in looking through for the tracks?
Sure, if you think it's helpful.
I think so.
Low rank survival. I think you do.
I
don't you?
do. Yes. I have to. Cooking.
All right, you're both looking around. I wonder.
As 0 and a 4.
I rolled a 0-1.
Oh, yay! Crit success.
Mhm.
You feel very confident nobody is
0,
looking.
1.
In fact, the only footprints you really see in here are your own. However, you do see that there are black feathers, a few of them at least, that you've managed to find. One that's blown between some cracks in the rock. Perhaps the wind has carried it in here. Or maybe there's one in the corner, but just a handful. It's a small handful of black feathers, crow feathers. Doesn't indicate anybody lives in here, but certainly the crow master has passed through. Or the crows roost in here, you're not sure.
Well, there's some crow feathers, which isn't it kind of odd for crows to be around here? Or is that somewhere else? Isn't that what they were saying?
Oh. No offense, but I do believe you might know a bit more about animals than myself.
No, I do know quite a bit about animals, but you see, I don't know much about this land. So,
Oh,
Um,
well, I mean, we did just see a man covered in them, so they must have come from somewhere. Unless he's
yes.
also an immigrant, much like we are.
Mhm. So, well, that's. Is there? Are there anywhere else to? Is there anywhere else to look about here?
Unfortunately, not. The only way to continue further in is to get through that door. And that door, it's a reinforced wooden door with iron, with reinforced with iron bands, clearly meant to somebody to withstand people besieging the inside of the castle, and it's clearly locked.
On the outside?
It's locked on the inside. You can't get inside of it.
Mhm.
It's like the other side of
Oh,
it.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
You wouldn't put a latch on the outside of a door if you didn't want somebody to break it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like this door can be picked, right? That's what you're saying.
Not that you can see, at least. It doesn't
Right.
appear to be so. Doesn't mean you couldn't potentially jimmy it open. But I don't know what tools you have on hand. I can't lead you that direction. You can only tell me how you want to do this.
Right. Well, with this, the I guess the reason I was asking is because I do have the capability to pick a lock. It's just that, like, within my character, I just don't know if this door can be picked. That's what I was asking.
Hmm.
So,
Like if you could even attempt.
right. So I do have the picks and the skill.
Oh, well, yeah, you can absolutely try. Go and roll a
Okay.
secret skullduggery test.
Okay. So secret
Use the tools
skullduggery.
you have, a file, a crowbar. Try to jimmy the door open, get it to where you can at least try to maybe slide something through a metal file to lift the bar.
Unfortunately, Keegan is far too nice a person to understand what you're doing right now.
Yeah, of course.
Think about it this way: like lock picks for somebody who'd open a car door is not necessarily a set of picks. It's a set of files and hangers and screws and Slim Jim. You'd have a variety of tools: a crowbar, a bill hook, anything you could use to kind of get in between and wedge in. So it's not necessarily like
Credit
playing
card.
trying to pick it with the picks. It's a variety of tools. So what'd you roll?
I haven't rolled yet. So I've got a 52 and I rolled a 28. And yes, I would like to keep it
Nice.
because, yeah, rolling again would probably be bad.
Okay. The door makes a solid clunk, and you hear this clattering, like you imagine like dropping like a 2x4 in your garage. That's what it kind of sounds like on the other side. You got the bar on the other side out of the way.
Bonk.
Before we go in,
Mm-hmm.
there could be someone in here. And I withdraw my dagger.
Okay. Fing! Sorry,
And-
it's a dagger right here. We'll pretend it's a dagger.
Keegan nods and loads up his shepherd sling.
As
So I
you
just
prepare to go through the door, we turn to outside in the stables. It's storming. Calvin and Osbert are beneath the boughs of the stable. It's been maybe 20 minutes at best. You'd seen them, you can see where they went inside the tower, kind of cattywampus from where you're at. But other than that, you don't really know what's going on. You saw them wander around, soaked to the bone in their walking around outside of the courtyard. That's about it.
Osbert, if you're having trouble sleeping, instead of counting sheep, you could always try counting crows.
Well, there aren't any crows anymore that the crow master's gone.
Guess that would be a problem.
There's plenty of rain.
Start counting raindrops.
No into them in sight.
Yep. Well, What do you think about this place? You think Credence really came here?
I don't know. I reckon the stable's good enough to catch 40 winks if you stop yammering on at least.
Oh, well, you know. Carry on.
You find it not only just uncomfortable, but uncomforting to be inside this place, knowing that you are essentially trapped, save for Calvin. You've kind of you Calvin in particular, and you put everybody else in a pretty precarious situation going underneath the porculus, whether it be by your leadership or not. You're kind of trapped inside this place. Now, as for Calvin, you can just fly away, but your spell kind of failed you twice now.
Yeah.
Feeling as spent as you are, you both find it kind of difficult to really rest comfortably at this point, but you still have some hours ahead of you if you're intending to recuperate before hopefully something bad doesn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just, resting a little bit, but whenever Osbert is ready to go again, Calvin will give it another good old college try, but
So perhaps it's just where you're positioned, where you're kind of cleverly hidden inside the stables. You hear these beating of black wings. I said, fluttering somewhere in the sky. And suddenly you see all these black crows kind of spinning large and round in the middle of the courtyard until they kind of come together and they kind of ooze together into this form of a man with this long, voluminous cloak and this very broad hat. And you can see the crows kind of roosting upon his shoulders and arms as the Crow Master manifests just within a few yards of you. He's a stick in his hand, and he's holding a lantern, and he turns the lantern on. And this yellow kind of light, kind of guttering light kind of comes out, the storm lantern. And then you can see other crows begin to gather along the eaves of the stables where you're at. They begin to kind of sit on the broken teeth of the stairwell that would have led to getting inside the portcullis. They're kind of everywhere, kind of around here, and you can hear the sounds of crows making sounds all around you.
Pull out my double-barreled pistol and ready it. I motion to Calvin to follow me as I try to sneak up on this crow-laden man and get the jump on him.
Oh, you want to actually?
Well, my thought is if I discharge my firearm, it's going to alert the rest of the group and they'll be able to come to my aid.
It's true. Trying to find the sounds of crows on YouTube, which is surprisingly
10 hours,
difficult.
10 hours of crow sounds.
feel after that long, you'd just be calling at your ears, to make it stop.
Yeah, the crows were making it quite a cacophony. I think we lost you.
She's
okay.
quit.
Yeah, I was like 7.
So, well, the video seems to have.
Yeah, your video cut out. Okay.
It's weird.
Oh, there you are. Hey. So yeah, you can hear the crows kind of gathering. You can see the Crow Master kind of standing, and he's kind of letting the crows kind of rest upon his arms and the crook of his staff as he raises the lanterns and gathering all around all these crows, the same ones you saw in the fields, that the same you had seen the villagers manifest into.
I'm I'm gonna wait a few moments, kind of watch what he's doing, and try to take the perfect moment when he's turned to me, so I can kind of rush him and get a good shot in.
You bet. So Calvin, you can see him. He kind of sets the lantern down. And he grabs the staff by both hands and lowers his head.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see he's clearly murmuring something, but you can't understand it over the sounds of the cacophony of the crows. And then you see him lift his staff. Whump, 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 striking the ground 3 times like a very heavy knock against wood. And so you hear this. As the chains begin to rattle for the building itself, and the drawbridge begins to come down for him.
I'm gonna wait for the drawbridge to come down for sure.
Okay. Outside, or sorry, inside, I should say. Inside the tower, you can hear the sounds of crows outside as you step through the threshold into the next room. And in this room, you see this very ghastly looking sight. The walls of this chamber are covered in this strange purple and black substance is the best way to describe it. It doesn't look that much unlike what you had seen in the murder room beneath the towers, but it kind of seems to grow up the walls almost like vines and plants. Almost like spider webbing along the walls, like these like vines that have took root inside the building, kind of in clusters along the wall, like some strange mutative growth that seems to pulse with a very dark purple liquid. And in this purple liquid, in this vegetable-like growth, you can see that there are these 2 would be best described as leaf-shaped cocoons. And one of the cocoons, like the petals of a flower or an orchid, are completely open. And there's like this rough shape of where a person would rest inside of it, with this purple ichor that's kind of covering the inside of the leafy encasement. And beside it, you can see almost side by side, parallel to one another, are these other 2 strange sacks, this leafy purple sacks with that seem to have these people within it. But you're not really sure who's inside, obviously. But you can barely make out the nose and the forehead of whoever's inside of it, as they too are covered in this strange ichor. The entire side of this, Collinsworth and Keegan, is both very terrifying, as you must both now make a hard resolve test to withstand terror.
Okay, 50%. 21 success.
Nice.
Is it a hard test? So
Yeah.
40.
Resolve.
97 will do it.
We have 2 coins left in the pool if you want to use them.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Well, Keegan gets weak in the knees and suffers 9 conflict, and also gains, 21 peril from terror, and 9 conflict, as you're almost brought to your knees as you see this horrendous sight. And you can see one of the faces inside the cocoons, for lack of a better term, Keegan. You can see the face kind of mouthing help, but there's no words coming out, just purple, dark purple ooze kind of coming forth from its throat that seems to come forth from its nose, as well as the person is seeking help, but it just doesn't, the words don't come out, just the purplish ichor. You can feel the hackles raise on the back of your neck, Collinsworth, as Keegan kind of pauses and where he's at. What do you two do from here?
Now, was it just Keegan that saw the person mouthing for help?
Oh no, you both do.
Okay.
Keegan is the one who's probably impacted by it.
Collinsworth, like, he's not handling it that well, even though he's succeeded. And yeah, upon seeing that, he doesn't really have any regard for the consequences that could happen. Maybe Osbert's rubbing off on him. And he takes the knife and starts trying to cut, like, I'm imagining that there's like, there's this area where the body is, and then like it's kind of tapering off and going somewhere else from your description. Like, I'll try and cut at that part where it's kind of tapering off.
Okay. What's going on with Keegan?
He is obviously flipping out. I mean, I am way down on peril right now. So he is kind of freaking out having seen this. He sees Collinsworth like going forward and stuff, and he goes, oh, and he goes to like grab his knife and kind of stumbles with it so that he can help too, but he's just kind of like in shock and probably shouldn't be handling, weapons that happen to be sharp.
So you're helping Collinsworth despite your kind of situation.
He's gonna attempt, but he's pretty stumbly. Now here's what I have a question about assisting, which I should probably know. Since you ignore skill ranks when you're down on the peril condition track, does that mean that I have to ignore and I can no longer use them for assist?
That's a great question. Rules as written doesn't impact you.
No,
Okay.
yeah, you just
Rules
need
is-
a skill rank.
Yeah. Rules as intended. Could you assist a skill when you have no skill ranks? Technically,
When you're ignoring them.
you're ignoring them. I would probably argue no, you can't assist. I think that makes the most sense, at least. I mean, if you're
Okay.
that far down the peril condition track and you have no skill ranks in the skill, therefore you probably shouldn't be able to assist that skill either.
I couldn't have any skill ranks in anything right now. I'm at ignore 3.
Oh no! Collinsworth, make a coordination test.
Okay.
This test will be standard for you.
Okay. Good thing it's standard. So 52. 25. I've been
Nice. With
lucky tonight.
with the first cut, this dark purple liquid kind of spills down the side of this vegetable-like growth, and the whole room begins to almost move with a pulse.
Oh no.
Like the whole room is like you've kind of wounded this pulsing growth in here. And the figure inside the cocoon, you can see the hand kind of stretch out, and you can see the skin of this cocoon kind of between its fingers reaching out, like you've seen like I don't know what that old haunted house movie is when somebody's reaching through the walls. It kind of looks like that.
Mm-hmm.
The hands are reaching toward you, Collinsworth, as you're not really sure what's happening. And Keegan, of course, is fumbling with a knife inside here. Meanwhile, outside in the rain, where the Crowmaster is.
I do want to say that Calvin would have pulled out a silver tuning fork to potentially, if need be, dispel any magics that seem to be cast towards him, because like that's what he expects is going to happen. Like,
yeah, certainly. So at this point, we know that the Crowmaster has not seen you.
right.
He or
So
they
it's like
have no
slowly
idea you're
pulling.
there, but all these crows are everywhere around you, and surely they see you. So you're pulling out the silver tuning fork, Calvin, for dispel magic. What are you going to do, Osbert?
I'm waiting for the drawbridge to go all the way down, and then I'm going to ambush him.
Okay. And with that, the drawbridge falls with a solid thud sound.
So I'm gonna actually have to run to him because the gun doesn't have that great range.
Well, let's see what happens before you do all that.
Okay, I'm just saying that's what I'm going to going to do.
So I need initiative on here.
Okay.
Mine is 10 plus. I have a 12.
Okay.
The Crowmaster has a 12 initiative.
Good thing I have a 13.
That's right. So the good thing is that you will be able to, and where he's at, he's probably at least 10 yards away.
Okay.
So what do you wish to do? It's your turn. You have surprise.
I'm going to, I'll charge, and I want to knock him to his feet and plug him once with my double-barreled pistol.
So you want to charge forward and then fire the double-barreled pistol at him?
I'm going to charge for him, knock him down, then shoot him.
Okay, so it's 2 AP to charge.
Okay.
You
And
shoot
that
and knock him down, or knock him down
I'm
and
going to
shoot?
knock it down and shoot. So this is going to take 4 AP. So I'm going to use a coin.
Oh,
That's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
So there's a coin.
Oh yeah. So you rush forward as fast as you possibly can, catching him unawares. It is a trivial. Is it? We want to use coordination or athletics?
Coordination.
Okay. You come forward, catching him unawares, and you try to sweep the feet, Johnny.
Okay.
Sweep the leg. It's a trivial coordination test, and because he's surprised, he cannot resist.
Okay, so 90% chance to succeed. Okay. And that's a critical success.
Oh, okay. So on a crit success, we should know about a crit. So crit success on a knockdown is actually,
I think it's going to take him 3 AP to stand up.
well, remember what knockdown does. Let's be clear here.
Okay.
Knockdown, I'll read this off. Looking here at the rough and tumble. Knockdown. If they are defenseless, they are also unconscious.
Oh.
And when you were surprised, you were defenseless.
Mm.
Therefore, they are unconscious, lying on the ground.
Okay.
And right as and you pull the trigger to your weapon. But was it reloaded last combat? Let's roll chaos die and find out. Sure. Well. 1 to 3, it's loaded. 4 to 6, it's not. 3. It's loaded. Boom! As he pulls the trigger, and you all hear this outside, he blasts the Crowmaster's head off as the Crowmaster is slain. And with that, the crows make all manner of horrible sounds.
Are they screaming bloody murder?
They are.
Bloody murders.
And you hear the crows all around outside. And as you hear that explosion inside the gunshot, Collinsworth, your hand almost slips as you're cutting inside the cocoon, as the hands are reaching from inside the cocoon toward you. And the Crowmaster has been dispatched outside, and suddenly this dark cloud, this murder of crows, swarms all around and begins violently picking the remnants of the husk that the Crowmaster once stood within, leaving nothing behind but bits and tears of clothing, like some old stuffed scarecrow, the remnants of his hat, this stick, a lantern that's still illuminated, in a huge, voluminous book attached to a leather strap. Meanwhile,
You need that hat, bud.
inside,
You kill it, you wear it. All right, them's the rules.
Keep what you kill.
Yeah.
inside the tower where Keegan is clearly kind of, fumbling with his knife, and Collinsworth, you cut forth, and the whole room begins to pulse and ebb with this strange purple liquid, and almost like it begins to softly glow, this dark, deep purple. Are you going to continue cutting?
Quick, Keegan, get that one out. We have another to save. There's gunfire, so we need to hurry.
Yes. So he runs over and like tries to pull the one out of the cocoon flesh thing.
Make a standard coordination test.
Okay.
It's
37.
like the scene in Lord of the Rings where they're like pulling the Urukai out of like the burning clouds, and they're like
36.
like this membrane.
So,
So what is that?
I'm thinking Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I don't know why, but 36. So that means success.
You manage to cut one of these vines free, and you can see Collinsworth and Keegan as you're trying to make it through this. You see that there are 3 weak points in the cocoon. You have both successfully cut one. And Keegan, despite the fact that your mind is frayed, you immediately intuit, and you can hear Keegan kind of breathe in. Immediately, Keegan, you realize if either of you cut incorrectly, you could kill whoever's inside the cocoons. And you've no idea who they are, at least until Collinsworth stares at the faces. You've seen these people before, Collinsworth. You've seen these before, these people illustrated, in fact, in the incredible escapades of Amlin the Bold, as annotated by Lyndon C. Genevieve. To one side, you see a man who could only be Credence. Across from him, Chauncey.
Oh,
You
no.
were standing in front of Chauncey, and Keegan is standing in front of Credence. Keegan, you have this insight, by the way, because you have the heal skill. You recognize the insight about the 3 weak points.
Oh, no, it's
Collinsworth does not yet know this.
right. Yeah, it's my kin. We got to get him out. Like, I start to, try and be more quick about getting them out of this cocoon.
We can't hear you at all, Kay. You're muted.
You should probably don't cut bad. Yeah, don't do that.
What?
We could hurt them. We need to be careful.
Do you think they have long? Because there's stuff happening outside too.
And Keegan just looks between the two, and at this point has almost frozen. He doesn't know where to go. Yes.
Indecision racks Keegan.
Guess what? Guess what, man?
No, that's right.
I'm laying on the apprehension, which was actually one of my alignment sides. So he's just
Guess what, man? They have time?
Gunshots and
yes. Now
someone needs help. That's all he calls out at this point, having no other clue of where to go from there.
Absolutely true.
All right, let's see what's out there.
He's not a liar.
Oh,
okay. So Keegan gets up away from the cocoon and he runs over to the door, and like no stealth, no attempt to hide himself whatsoever, like throws open the door that they came through and looks out.
Yeah. You look outside and there is this dark cloud of crows.
Oh, birds. There's birds.
The storm is roiling. You can't see your friends.
Lots of birds.
The rain is too much. There's too much fog outside.
Birds and water. There's birds.
You can see a cloud of crows tearing at something on the ground down below.
God. Bad. This looks bad. Looks very.
right. I will definitely come to see what he sees.
Okay. You step toward the door and you're searching in earnest. And it's, oh shit, the Crow Master's back. And then you realize that you can see Osbert batting away the crows as they're surrounding him, picking and pecking and slashing with their claws and their beaks as he's in the burst. Is it Osbert or is it the crows?
It's hard to tell.
It's really hard to tell as he bursts forth into just a murder of crows as they swarm all around.
He's
I'm
now
sorry, actually, you have
Osbert.
initiative, Osbert, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So, well, actually, we need to go to Calvin. Calvin, what are you gonna do? It's still surprise.
Galvin doesn't really have a plan on how to murder a murder of crows. So, how do you murder that which has no life? I don't know. He slid the tuning fork back into his, clothing because he can't counterspell birds unless it's a magical effect. In which case, you know what? I don't know. Try to dispel the birds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roll dispel. This test will be challenging.
All right. Challenging incantation with no skills because I am suffering from peril. This is going to be a 39. But an 87 means I fail.
Tung! You bring the tuning fork and you strike it against one of the wooden support beams of the stable, yeah.
Yeah,
And
against
you
the
can
ground.
feel the
yeah.
backs of your eyes like burn. Like
Mhm.
you stare at light too long, your eyes begin to water. In your case, Osbert, you could feel your head was like you feel this intense headache, but nothing happened. So now it's normal initiative. And so who goes? Did Collinsworth go first?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Collinsworth, what do you do? Your skill. Sorry, not Collinsworth. I'm sorry. Collinsworth, it's your turn. What will you do?
Okay.
Actually, I'm sorry. It's Keegan's.
Keegan,
the top.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Top
Keegan.
of the round,
Keegan's top.
Keegan. Okay.
You and Collinsworth are fighting to look out that door down below in the courtyard, and you can see that Osbert is fighting this murder of crows all around him.
Okay, are we within hearing range? Like, could they hear me if I
Yeah,
was?
absolutely. You could. I mean, you have to yell over the storm, but
Yeah,
yes,
you're gonna have to call
crows.
out.
That's 8. Anyway,
that's good. Call out.
Call out.
What will you do, Keegan?
so I think you know what? Keegan is going to stare blankly between the guys that are behind us. The height that he might possibly have to fall down at this point to try to go over and help Osbert and the birds, and I'm gonna hold for a moment.
Oh yeah, probably smart. Collins, whose turn is it next? Collinsworth, what will you do?
Collinsworth will flavor-wise, he'll yell at him. He'll like, Hobbs, help Osbert, and he'll want Hobbs to charge in there. Right. So I don't know if I, with the way we need to track anything or not, if I need to climb down first, whatever you want to do.
Hobbs climbed up.
I don't think Hobbs went with us, would he?
No, he did not. He would have been down there, but still like just, I don't know.
He might have
Because
had a better
we've
time.
not been in this position where like, even though we're not on a battle grid, like we've not been in the position where I've been here and Hobbs has been here. And like, I decide to be as Hobbs. And then so like, whoop, do I warp over there or not? So
that's a great question. So the way we ruled it last time as you were going up the kind of narrow switchback up to the castle is that we simply placed Hobbs where you were on the grid.
Mhm. Yeah, so-
I think though in this case it makes the most sense to have Hobbs already on the ground.
Yeah.
He's just down there waiting on
He's
you.
probably hanging out next to me.
He's
Like,
like,
I was probably, like,
one
cuddling
of
up
those,
with him. Yeah.
one of those followers you have in a game who's like just like standing at
Get
the
stuck
ladder.
on a wall.
Yeah, like he's
Like-
all
your character can fly, but your follower
stuck in the
can't,
wall.
and it's
Yeah.
just
He's just walking into it repeatedly, just clipping halfway through the wall.
Yes.
Yeah.
What will Hobbs do? So it's 1 AP to handle your animal. You have 2
Hobbs will try to make it over there, and if he has any AP left, he will
10
start
yards.
10 yards. I don't know if he has that. Let's see here. Search for bear.
Search for bear.
And is no, he doesn't have that movement, so he's going to charge, but just to get over there.
Okay. All right, who's next?
After Collinsworth is Calvin.
Calvin! What will you do?
He's going to try to dispel these crows again, except this time he's going to risk backlash
Nice. So
Ooh.
for
it's going to
2
be a hard
steps.
test because you failed before. So now it's a standard test.
All right, so we got ourselves a 49 here, and a 76 fails. So
Oh.
let's see if we get
My
some of
God.
that backlash here with a 2 and a 6.
Yay!
Calvin is struck by a lance from the sky as, oh God, 18 peril?
Okay. I go down 1 more, so I'm going to ignore 3.
Okay.
Hey, twin.
Calvin's putting everything on the line. He's like, oh my God. Every little bit of lifeblood is spilling forth from you as your magic is consuming you. Has any of you seen the Dragon Prince? You watched Dragon Prince on Netflix? Highly recommend it. What's really interesting when they cast spells, they actually turn gray. Their bodies turn gray as they expend more power, and they get white hair that can only be restored through magical means. Maybe we kind of envision some of this happening to Calvin as you risk backlash. You can feel just the energy sapped from you as he's turning greener and greener around the gills. So that's 2 AP. Anything else you wish to do?
I'll
That's
thank
one
my
pass.
last AP.
Okay. Who's next?
After Calvin is Osbert.
Osbert. What do you do, Osbert?
So Osbert is letting forth a string of curses, just trying to like scare the crows off of him.
I'm going to do this to
Get the
you.
fuck off
Okay.
me! All this stuff, you know.
You need not roll anything because they are immune to
It makes sense to do just a litany of hatred, just because
Yeah.
yelling at an animal sometimes gets it the wrong way. So
go.
since when that doesn't work, it will disengage.
Okay. Disengage or maneuver.
Maneuver, yeah, that's what I meant.
So you
Sorry.
can maneuver 3 yards away
Uh-huh.
for 2 AP.
Right.
Okay. Despite the fact that you maneuver 3 yards away, you were still among the murderer crows as they take up a burst template.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how big they
Whatever.
were. I would have just moved out. Move
Okay,
out of
we'll
the
let you edit
radius.
the situation
Okay.
for a coin.
Okay, sure.
So what's going to happen now? What's happening? Explain to us what happens when you have the situation.
So a big gust of wind happens during the storm and pushes a whole bunch of the crows away, kind of dissipates them. So I have enough time to get away.
Yeah, I think with the creative use of the edit too, we'll assume that the crows have been banished as well as they take off into the sky. Only the storm and the remnants of the Crow Master remains, killed all too cleverly, Nick. During a surprise turn, you killed my Crow Master. You bastard. The Crow Master and his murder of crows are gone. Whether the villagers are still out there, you're not sure. But
Osbert takes a moment to collect his trophy. whatever he can from them.
well, of course, that would be the
Hats off to you.
it could be the hat or it could be the cloak of black feathers.
Ooh, I'm gonna take that cloak. That's awesome.
That's pretty sick. Yeah.
So put Crow Master's cloak on you now. When you wear the Crow Master's cloak, you will never be attacked by any corvid or bird ever. That is its power. Anything class that's a bird, that's an animal. You have a magic item.
Wow.
So Collinsworth and Keegan, you see what's happening. You move out of combat at this point, which means all the coins go back into your pool, all 5.
Oh,
Thanks for killing my Crowmaster. I was loaded.
I know. I was waiting for
I
him to
was
just
loaded up.
murder.
Yeah.
Murder.
So remember, whenever you successfully complete combat or overland travel or social intrigue or chase scene in Flames of Freedom rules, I move all my coins into your pool. So it makes sense for you to actually spend your coins.
Mhm.
It's encouraging you to do that, despite the fact they do flow back and forth. So you get all of your fortune back. All my misfortune turns into your fortune. Whew.
Yeah, I'm gonna move over now to Osbert brushing off the hay, and
Hey.
well, that worked out better than I expected.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick up the hat and say, "Well, hats off to you," and as I put it on, then take it
All
off,
right, and I
put it back on.
I pushed my boot into the book he was carrying. Maybe you should get this out of the rain too.
Oh, well, I'll grab onto that and.
It's this old, large, leather-bound grimoire
Oh,
that appears to have this clever iron clasp around it.
We've got a situation up here.
Oh,
Does.
you too, huh?
Turn the other way. Well, I guess the rest can wait till evening. As I
It's
head in that direction.
It's a bit dire.
Okay.
Well, I guess.
So are you encouraging them to make their way here fast, Collinsworth?
I'll move that way. Yeah, I'll move quickly.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Calvin, are you and Osborne just going to try to get up the side of this tower as quickly as possible?
Mm-hmm.
This is
I
why we
will-
need fucking rope.
I will
ladder.
I will hold my arm down.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, to
So,
try and assist.
For Osborne, it's a hard athletics test. You gain an assist die.
Okay.
We'll let Collinsworth roll the assist.
Hard athletics. Will be
Collinsworth for the assist.
24.
Did they get anything from the Pythons?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
hard
still
is
make
hard. Yeah.
And what did you roll for assist?
1.
Okay, so that's a 12 for me. Success.
Nice.
Okay.
All right. You pull Osborne very quickly up the side of the building. What about Calvin?
Come on, brother.
Give it a try. Hands up.
I'll help too. I probably won't give an assist die, but it just makes sense for the story.
The door is too narrow to have.
Gotcha.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's keep in mind it's a doorway.
Yeah.
Mhm. I wasn't trying to
Hard-
get a bonus, but
No,
you know,
I
it
hear
just
you.
makes sense.
No, maybe you're holding on to Collinsworth. I got your
Yeah,
waist.
I got it.
I rolled an 01. Critical success.
Yeah, that won't. Mine too won't help.
So yeah, a crit success is Calvin kind of tuck, 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 tuck. You've seen those like wuxia films where they kind of clamber up buildings on wires. Yeah. Tuck, 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 tuck. Maybe Calvin's spell really isn't gone.
Maybe
You all
he's a
come
muscle
inside.
mage.
That's right. Muscle mage. He quickly scampers up the side of the building. And you come inside, and the two of you behold this like scene of absolute sheer terror that can only be envisioned out of one of the strange stories that you've read in your Penny Dreadfuls. Of both you need to succeed against a hard resolve test and not suffer.
Hard resolve.
Terror.
29. 58 fail.
Oh God, you have coins.
No, fail.
I mean, I'll only
5
become
coins.
incapacitated, so I guess I should give it a try.
Yeah,
Okay, you both want to reroll.
29.
my chance is so low, it's not worth it.
93, that's a failure. So
God.
I use a coin and I still fail.
Well, of course, both of you are just completely arrested in sheer terror as you gain 9 conflict and proceed to. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I'm rolling really high tonight.
I've not-
29 peril.
All right. Well, I'm definitely incapacitated.
Incapacitated, yeah.
Are you talking? Because we're not hearing you.
So yeah, so you gain
9 corruption, right? And then we go incapacitated, right? And then we gain
Yeah.
what from going incapacitated?
6.
6
but-
more from that?
Yeah, but that's not what I'm worried about. for
No,
you.
I'm not. I mean, we get
Because-
something, don't we?
I don't. It's not
Extra
just a
fun and
matter of
such?
getting something. I think it's a matter at this point of like broken heart syndrome, which I don't think we've ever had to deal with before.
Well,
New phone.
normally broken heart syndrome comes when you
Yeah. So hold on. To clarify, I will read the rules.
Yeah.
So if a character suffers from stress, fear, or terror while already incapacitated, the character is rendered unconscious, so they undergo trepidation. So nobody has suffered additional peril at this point.
Right.
So you all are fine for now. And you behold this scene of sheer terror. Clearly, as I described for both Kay and Adam, there are two figures caught in this strange kind of vestigial leaf green purple ichor carapace or pod. And as Keegan points out, there are 3 weak points. One of them has been cut successfully on either side, but a misstep with a knife could cause either one of these people, clearly Credence, clearly Chauncey, to die by your hands. This is what you.
How much time do we have?
I
I'm looking at Keegan.
Just fucking cut him down.
I
No, I think in this case, it's Akin. I want to hear from Keegan first.
All right, so Keegan's gonna review and see if he can figure out like if they're in any immediate danger right at this moment.
Go ahead and roll a secret heal test.
Ooh, secret heal. Okay, so my heal skill is a 54, ignoring my skill rank, and I rolled a 34. I will keep it.
Okay. You feel pretty confident that this purple ichor is flowing freely through both of these people, through Credence and Chauncey.
So does it
Or
look
their
like it?
bloodstream. And they are now bleeding because the weak point has been severed. So they're now bleeding to death. Unless you can staunch the wounds if they were moved from the pod, which Keegan could potentially do.
So basically, need to remove them, the 3 spots, and then I could actually heal them and stop them from bleeding out. That's what you're saying?
Yes, guarantee they don't bleed out beforehand. You don't know how long that is, but it will be quick.
I can't say exactly at what speed they're passing, but they are definitely not in the best of states right now.
All right, let's get to it.
They need to be cut down, but we have to be careful. At this point, the tendrils you see are part of them. They are feeding them.
I see. Well, let's get to it.
So, Collinsworth, who are you going to get cut on?
The one person we've been cutting on.
So each of you
We're doing
cut.
separate.
Yeah. So Collinsworth, you were cutting on Chauncey before, and Keegan was cutting on Credence.
Okay, well, that's not how I remember it, but yeah, we'll go ahead and go with Credence.
That's how I remember it. But, yeah, he has it right.
That's fine.
Okay,
So will
Go
you
ahead.
tend to Chauncey or Credence, Collinsworth?
Credence.
Credence, okay. So you turn around to tend to Credence. Will you do this carefully or quickly?
I mean, I'll do it carefully, but yeah.
All right. Your second is a standard coordination test, Collinsworth.
Okay. Standard coordination will be 52. And a 60 won't do it, so I'll need to use a coin.
Okay. You have 3 coins remaining.
17 will.
All right. What about Chauncey? Anyone want to cut on Chauncey?
Well, is Credence completely free now, or is there more to cut?
That's the second weak point. There are 3 weak points on each of these.
Right. So then we should finish Credence and then move on to Chauncey.
Okay. All right. Your third is a standard coordination test.
Okay. 52%. An 85 won't do it. Gonna need to use another coin.
Reroll.
32 will succeed.
Nice.
Credence collapses to the ground, and Keegan, you immediately take your bandages out and staunch the bleeding. Suspend one bandage.
Okay.
That leaves Chauncey bleeding, still encased in the vestigial carapace, this pod, as the purple ichor is it's starting to slow down. Whoop, whoop.
All right.
Whoop, whoop.
I'll start to cut
Okay. Carefully or quickly?
carefully.
Okay. It's a standard test, standard coordination.
63 won't do it. I'll need to use a coin if we have any left.
You have 1 left after this.
Okay. An 05 will succeed.
Okay. So 2 of the 3 weak points have been cut on Chauncey. You can hear the whoop, 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 whoop. The sound of the slowing heartbeat of this strange, corrupted plant that keeps him inside. For this final cut, were you cut carefully or quickly?
Carefully.
Okay. It's a standard test.
And 98 won't do it, so I will need to use that last coin.
Okay.
And 52. What did I? Oh, it's on the nose. So, yeah, 52.
So,
Wow.
at this point, Credence and Chauncey are lying on the floor amid this strange black growth. And Keegan immediately begins to bind up Chauncey as well. Both of them are unconscious. Both of them are out of it. You can see the veins on their skin kind of purple and risen on their face. What will you all do from here?
These two aren't fit to be moved down out of here. Let's move them to the other room. We'll stay here for the night.
We're gonna stay in this room.
There's an adjacent room. Stay
Right,
in there.
that's what I meant.
I have to sleep in shifts as who knows what caused that. I don't know if this life is stuff will get us in the night.
Burn it.
Keegan goes to start start pulling them towards the other room and get them set up in like a place to rest.
You kind of pull the 2 people that only be Credence and Chauncey into the other chamber, and you close that door where the strange growth was. You can still see the storm outside, just outside that door. Wet, rainy, muddy. The 4 of you, along with Dane and Annika, are holed up inside this chamber. How long? You're going to wait at least 6 hours, I'm assuming, so you can get some rest?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Collinsworth is going to stay awake the whole time.
Galvin just can't. Like,
Yeah, for those who elect to sleep, you awaken 6 hours later imperiled. During this time, Collinsworth, you can see that both Credence and Chauncey are breathing shallowly, and you at first fear that they're bleeding through the bandages. Keegan was clearly out of sorts, but the bandages hold. It staunches the bleeding, but neither one of them have woken up in 6 hours.
Can I attempt to make us a meal?
With what? There's no
I have
place to put it.
rations.
So let's be clear here. Provisions won't do it.
Okay.
You're gonna need more than provisions to prepare a meal that's gonna help everybody.
Okay.
You're gonna need some place to cook. You're gonna need a fire. You're gonna need more than what you have.
Okay.
Just to be clear.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, because there's no fireplace in here, right?
that's right. Otherwise, you just throw a piece of bread to somebody. You get the ability, the benefits.
Right.
So we have to consider the narrative qualifications. But there's no place allowed to fire in here. No way. There's no hearth by any means. This is a Spartanly dressed room. It's clearly meant to be a communal chamber. You can imagine perhaps that people met in here to give orders. The room is no more than 15 by 15. It's very small. Keep in mind it's inside of a stone tower. And it's not even the largest part of this building. The only means of ingress is from the open port that leads outside into the courtyard, 15 feet down. And the other means further inside the tower, in or up, is through the door you came through with the strange vestigial growth where you had brought both Credence and Chauncey out of. Otherwise, anything that would have been in here that was made of wood has been taken to be burned. And the room is literally threadbare. There's nothing in here save for yourselves and your muddy boot prints and such. But unfortunately, you don't quite have the supplies to do it here. Now, if you were perhaps in the field and you had all the things you would need, be a different story.
Okay.
Keegan, do you have any other materials for caring for someone in this state?
With what's going on with them, I can certainly try. It's not the best conditions for me to be doing anything, but
I mean, are they injured or are they just in a sorry state?
I guess I'll assess them and see if I can figure it out.
Yeah. You lean over and you apply every bit of medical and galenic knowledge you could potentially think of. And Keegan thinks on it for quite some time, but whatever state they're in is far beyond your medical knowledge of the body.
So after I rest, can I like examine them to see if it's like a magical type of like enchantment or something that's on them?
Sure, go ahead and roll a challenging incantation.
Challenging incantation. Okay, so 59, and I rolled a 92. We're just not doing it today.
No coins were
No
made.
coins.
That's fine. Yeah.
You're not really sure. I mean, it's certainly something strange, but you can't quite put your finger on what it is. You don't know if it's magical or otherwise.
I can treat to make sure that they don't bleed out any further, but this is not something I've ever seen. I have no idea. Possibly if we take them back to the keep, our good friend the doctor might have a better idea than I, though even this might be past him. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not quite sure if these two are fit for travel. I don't even know if they can leave this room.
You imagine, Keegan, you could construct sleds to pull them back.
I think if
down.
If we took our time, I think we could most definitely get them back.
If you say so. Well, this is definitely strange.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we should take our time and get these two out of this gate, this room here.
Well, I think if we're going to keep exploring, we should keep them here, shouldn't we? We have not unlocked all the secrets of this castle, have we?
Weren't they the end goal?
We have what we came for.
That's fair. All right, well then.
Now, the Crowmaster's intent was to go into the keep, into the castle. I shudder to think what horrors are in there. I mean, it could be a rack of steaming lamb, or perhaps some treasure. I don't know, but are you willing to risk it?
I mean, my only concern is how are you going to get out of here?
How am I going to get out of here?
I mean, I can fly over the walls. Are you just going to jump over and take the damage? You don't even have rope.
If I recall rightly, on your last reconnaissance run, you said that there were multiple ways to get out of the keep. There were some gaps in the wall. Is that true?
I mean, there were gaps in the roofs. I don't remember gaps in the walls, but
Yeah, otherwise we would have gone through those gaps.
Survey the area.
As you look upward, Calvin, you realize that you're actually in the same tower where you had come in from the trap door above.
Okay.
You're approximately on the second of the 5th floor of this small squat tower.
Yeah.
Oh, so we could go further up this tower. Is there like a
maybe
is there like a staircase that we haven't,
not that you've seen?
Okay.
Then again, you didn't leave. The only thing you did in the other room was try to get free Credence and Chauncey.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
But like we don't see like a staircase in this room.
No.
Okay.
No. Okay. Not at all.
I mean, or maybe am I able to tell if it's still raining outside?
It is. Yes, it's still raining.
Okay.
Even the sun's not setting, but it's probably about 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
Good wager.
You know, we could leave these two here and we could investigate. Or perhaps there's something worth taking.
I mean, I just don't want to travel at night as well.
Right. So we have enough time now. I look outside, judging where the sun may be in the sky, if I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
That we can investigate. I think the castle didn't look that large.
I don't know if we would want to just leave them up here.
Well, not
Well,
alone.
I mean,
Dane and Allison and
Annika.
Yes, her.
Allison
Hey,
Tower?
Yeah.
Dane looked scared out of his mind when he first came into the village, and Annika wasn't feeling any better. And seeing what horrors have befell everything, you do not feel confident in either of their abilities, Osbert, to defend two people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Better as a team. And the large team they had when they had ambushed you inside the village.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Not to say you couldn't do what you want to do, just there will be risks.
Well, I realize that you lot don't feel too confident about us leaving you for the time being. Just a few moments, a few stones turns, so to speak. So here's what I'm going to do. Hand Allison the double-barreled pistol.
Allison Chains.
yeah, Alice.
Abigail?
Abigail, sorry. Wow.
Sorry. Yeah, Abigail.
Anyway, so I hand
These are trying.
Abigail the double-barreled pistol and
How
tell
many
her
shots you have left?
I have 10 down here and I haven't marked one off, so 9 left.
You didn't fire it last game session?
I'm trying to remember if I did. I honestly don't remember.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know you
wanna
fired
just-
it
you wanna
once,
just call-
at least.
Okay, at least once.
Mhm.
I can say 3.
What about the game sessions before? You've been tracking your ammunition? Probably not.
Yeah.
And you said,
I'm,
and I
I'm
think
not sure.
if I'm not mistaken, you all had you kind of resupplied before you came here. I know that much at least.
Okay.
Did you guys get any
Yeah.
other fights along the way? Up here?
No, not from
Mm-mm.
Stonehole to here.
I
No.
didn't think so.
No.
Go ahead and mark off 5.
Okay.
Just call it 5
That's
for now.
fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe a good idea. I'd probably recommend putting it beside your damage threshold. Like an
Yeah.
ammunition tracker or something like that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
an easy one to forget. It really is.
Yeah.
I do the same thing.
Okay.
So you hand the double-barreled pistol to Abigail, and she's like, I don't use no war wand. And
I'm not asking you to use it to damage anyone. Just shoot it if you feel that you need us to come back. It's just to make the noise.
I don't think you understand. She pushes it back to you. I don't touch war wands.
All right then. I hand it. I turn to Dane and hand it to him.
He kind of holds it in his hand, kind of almost like almost like if he's holding like an animal that would threaten to scratch him. He kind of holds it like this. I think I know what to do with this.
Okay. Be careful.
What am I supposed to do with this?
I point towards this trigger. If danger's coming, pull this direction. And it'll make the loud noise like you just heard.
I thought
But
you
you
folks
also need to-
were.
Are you telling me
Trained.
we're going to split up? Abigail says.
You're going to stay here, and we're going to go and look for a way out.
You're going in there. She points out the door toward the main chamber, the main keep.
Why don't the three of you go?
Okay. My theory is that the main keep has a subterranean exit below ground that we can use to escape through. A sally port, perhaps. I'm hoping. I don't think we're in any condition to try to raise that gate again.
I don't think we
What do
can.
you think is waiting inside? I heard what you said not more than 6 hours ago to the others. What horrors await you inside? Who's to say you're going to come back?
That's a risk that we have to take. I'm sorry, it can't be any easier. But Collinsworth, if you're willing to stay,
I am.
I'll take the wand back.
Yeah, and we can even. Never mind. Yeah, no, I'll stay.
All right.
Calvin, Osbert, you three will go inside the keep.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
I was thinking, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if I could just like send the bear in and I'll stay here? But then I wouldn't be there to command the bear.
No,
So
I
I
knew
knew
exactly
I
where-
knew where you were
No.
going. That's
yeah,
smart.
it's like, no.
Cheese it.
Yeah, that's-
I got handle animal. I'll give Calvin instructions, or give
Hobbs.
Hobbs instructions.
Hobbs, do this thing.
You have telepathy though somehow.
So to get outside this tower, you're gonna need to climb down naturally. Getting down is always easier than getting up. I'm assuming Collinsworth, you're gonna help get down.
Yeah.
Okay. So each of you will need to make a challenging athletics test.
Who's going first?
I will.
It's
All right.
okay.
I rolled no 2.
Good, because I rolled a 7.
All right. So Calvin, you hop down in the rain unmolested. Who's next?
Go ahead, Keegan.
Well, rolled a 74, which will not do it.
I got a 6 for you.
Woo! Neither of those.
Oh!
Mm.
So 3 yards plus 1d10. So 6 damage, Keegan. You hit the ground hard.
You two be ready to catch me if I fall.
Sure.
Keegan is actually like holding his arm.
Like, I'm helping.
Mhm.
I can see the house from here. Okay, go ahead and roll your test.
I rolled a 3.
Nice. Okay.
Good, because I rolled a 9.
Okay.
Super
Um,
helpful.
That's right. So I'm going to intervene here for the sake of the game. So a couple of considerations here. Tim Coran will be joining next week, and we definitely want to give the opportunity for him to join in the game with whatever character he comes up with.
Sure.
So that's the first consideration. 2, I think I'm walking into an incredibly dangerous situation. I don't think you realize this, and I'm telling you now that if you go on your own, you are going to die.
Okay.
So to your point that you made before, Osbert, what the Crowmaster would be waiting for inside is unknown. So normally I would not intervene in this case. I'd be like, all right, just go on in.
You should have let us.
But there's some extenuating circumstances, I think, that warrant a slight narrative change. My recommendation, and we can talk about this
Plot
above board,
hook.
is that you all find your way out of the gates somehow, out in the courtyard, perhaps some place that was hidden that allows you to actually get outside. That's not to say you couldn't return here in due time, whatever you want to, but I think it's probably better that we have you find a way out in the courtyard than actually inside. I'm really loath to open the back of my book right here into what was planned for there without you all being there and because of Tim.
Well, yeah, we want the story to be in a place where we can easily add in a new character, and if we're in the middle of a dungeon, it's like a bit of a suspension of disbelief to add Tim in. So just out of like kind of above board type of.
What do you all think of that option?
I mean, Calvin's totally good with just getting the hell out of here.
Osbert gets a sick feeling in his stomach and decides to call an audible and just get out of there.
They call Uber? Horse Uber? Adam K, are you okay with this?
I like excitement, but like I also like having it to where, like, say if Tim were to show up, he'd be like, hey guys, what's going on? And then like we're waiting the whole time. That wouldn't be fun. So,
I just see this as you're walking up to like the door of a dungeon, and it's like you are not high enough to enter this dungeon.
Well,
I think you need to get the fuck out.
What do you think, Kay?
From a in character's perspective, Keegan's gonna go wherever the hell people tell him to go, so that doesn't really matter in the end. Or you could just say that Keegan said we need to get them help sooner rather than later. I don't know, whatever. But from out of character perspective, I'm perfectly fine with the plot hook if we're bringing Tim in, especially.
Yeah. I think there's plenty of narrative reasons for it. One, if we go back to what Osbert said about what could be inside. Two, you don't know how long Credence and Chauncey have. They may not be bleeding to death, but something else could be happening. And then three, I think it's a bit of a weird narrative twist for you to insist to go inside and not explore every opportunity out in the gatehouse to escape when you'd already said you got what you came
That's
for.
true.
Right.
I just felt like we were kind of out of options, and I thought that there may have been some sort of exit that way.
Yeah, so I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense to kind of turn the story, because it makes not only just narrative sense, but also sense for an incoming player to get you out of this place.
Yeah,
and get you back to Stonehold several days later.
Kind of reset the narrative a tiny bit.
A little bit now, and I think if you decide to come back here, we will fast travel you, just like we're going to fast travel you back right now. This will not be an easy trip, but I'm way back either. So you'll know in Flames of Freedom there are two types of travel for Overland travel. There's fast travel and there's like an extended journey. We're going to do a fast travel. And typically the fast travel, it's a matter of like you just make a skill test to see how you arrive at your destination. Are you molested or you're not? Are you hurt? Are you weak? Are you tired? What happened? So that's what we're gonna roll. And as I mentioned before, this will be tough getting back now. But you have my ironclad promise, and hold me to this. If you decide to come back here, when Tim's here as an example, you could fast travel there. Most of you could fast travel.
Cool.
So that way you have the opportunity to come back and explore, because I know that everybody likes that. I just didn't think I didn't really consider this.
No.
I didn't think Tim would be back so soon. So so this is a hard terrain all the way back. So we're gonna resolve fast travel with an arrive check. Everybody needs to make an arrive check. It's either a hard survival or hard toughness.
Do hard toughness.
You have no coins remaining, coincidentally.
40, 62. Failure.
35. Success.
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 Well, the good news is you actually all succeed because remember you're a nomad, therefore you always succeed overland travel checks that are associated to peril. So nothing happens for you.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. You're right.
So you all arrive back some number of days later, like in Stonehold.
We're going back to Stonehold. We're not going back to the.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Where do you wish to return to? That's a better question.
We wish to return to the encampment with Vernon. and the
Oh,
rest
I'm
of the
so
lot.
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, not Stonehold. Absolutely. Yeah, you return back to the Nameless's encampment.
Right.
Yeah, the
You're
nameless
absolutely
encampment. Yeah. That way we. Yeah,
I thought they had a name for that place.
they did. Let me see if I can pull it back up.
It's called
Sentinel Pines.
Sentinel
Yep.
Pine.
Yeah. So you're back to Sentinel Pine at this point.
Now, so I had an idea. I was looking at something on my character sheet.
Yeah.
So, I can, as a hedge wizard, automatically succeed a general spell.
Mhm.
So I can automatically succeed to dispel magic.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if it'd be too metagame to try to dispel magic on both of them just to see if it works. Like having no idea if it actually works.
Yeah. So a couple of considerations here to think about.
Yeah.
You could dispel magic. This is where it gets a little funky, just to be clear. So dispel magic, you can automatically dispel spells that you can cast or lower. So anything that any spell you can get rid of, right?
Okay.
But this spell is not, just to be clear, it's not a spell. So if this were a spell and it was you could dispel a spell of equal tier or lower. So you could dispel intermediate or basic spells, or in your case, generalists and basic and
Okay.
yeah. So or lesser and
Because it doesn't specify like in dispel magic
yeah.
on
The
Zweihander,
assumption
but yeah.
is so the
I
assumption
get that.
is
No, it makes sense because it makes sense. That's how it does it.
Yeah.
That's
So
how
like,
counter spell works. Like counter spell, you need to have it at the certain level, but dispel magic doesn't actually state that. But it makes sense because you're using dispel magic to counter spell. So
exactly. That's kind of that's once again, it's one of those things where it's like the intentionality the intentionality was there, but it just isn't there in the rules. So
right.
That's kind of one of the big pieces of errata eventually coming to the next print version of Zweihander.
Sure.
But for purposes of what we're doing tonight,
yeah,
you could do that, but it doesn't have any impact because it's not a spell.
Right. Okay.
There's something clearly else kind of amiss.
Yeah.
And upon your arrival at Sentinel Pine, like you begin to intuit, like you're not really sure. Neither Keegan nor Calvin at this point what extensive knowledge of both of you have. You don't really know what's happened, but at the very least we kind of get you back to where you wanted to go, with just a few days of provisions remaining. And I think we should probably wrap here. I think this is a really good stopping point for us, unless there's some minor shopping stuff you want to do. I would suggest anything that may be related, that may lead to furthering the story or the narrative, we should probably put a pause on. Pause. So as an example, you could resupply up to 10 shot, right? You could refill your supplies for your ammunition as an example, or reprovision if you wanted to. But I think that anything that would lead to more story, we should definitely say let's hold it until next week. So does anybody have anything kind of from a character inventory perspective or small tasks that won't impact the story perspective that you'd like to attend to in the first 24 hours of returning to Sentinel Pine?
Healing maybe is the only thing I can think of.
Collinsworth on the trip back would probably start to not warm up to, but be patching up the misunderstandings with Annika as he's seen her actions.
Yeah.
That she's not a bad person after all. So that's
Okay.
Likely what he would be doing.
Yeah. So a little bit of relationship building there with
Mhm.
the people of Sentinel Pine.
Yeah.
What about for you, Keegan?
Keegan will take care of some of the healing and stuff, and I would buy more supplies, but we've gotten no money this entire game, so I have no money to do anything else.
Right. Same here.
So
Let's resolve some supplying right now, real quick,
Mhm.
or some healing rather. So, what sort of healing would you like to do?
well, anybody who's still down levels,
I'm hurt,
obviously.
so automatic success. Just spend a bandage.
Okay.
Anybody else hurt?
Mm-mm.
Anybody?
So Calvin's still hurt, isn't he? No.
No, you did me up 3 levels, so
Yeah.
I went
Oh, that's right.
all the way up to unharmed.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Anything for you, Calvin?
No, I mean, they don't have the sticks things that I need for my 1 reagent spell.
No, unfortunately
So
not.
unless I can fly to the Rukenval and back in 24 hours, I think I'm all good.
Mhm. What about for yourself, Osbert?
I'm just gonna rub my victory over the Crowmaster in Dane's face and say, "Who's the Peacock Knight now, motherfucker?"
Who's the Peacock Knight now? Yeah. Oh man. So on the resupply thing, Keegan, that's something we need to do in story.
Okay.
Yeah, this is not a place you transact the money. What they don't transact with the outside world. So
Okay.
we need to probably cover that in the story. We kind of lead forward with. So everybody gets 75 reward points tonight. We played for roughly 3 hours ish. Yeah, 8 to 9 to 10:30. Yeah, so call it 75 reward points. We got a fucking ton of conflict tonight.
Oh yeah.
Which is surprising because we didn't get into a fight, but the situation was just so perilous.
Yeah. That'll happen. Yeah, when you go incapacitated and after
into a
terror.
fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, thanks, Nick. Yeah. Now, actually, that was cleverly done. I was, I don't know if you knew or if you remembered that takedown and knockdown was combined in Flames of
Yeah.
Freedom to make it simpler. And when you're surprised, you're defenseless. When you're defenseless, you can't resist.
Mhm.
So knockdown becomes knockout, and they're unconscious, and any attack will kill them.
Mhm.
That's why I was asking you about ammunition. I was like, do they
Yeah.
have ammunition?
Yeah.
Will the crows be able to attack beforehand?
Mhm.
That's what I was concerned with. We have to spend AP to load. That's why I was being very pedantic about that.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, you unmade my elite unique monster I created for this game.
I feel
No.
the pain there.
No.
I've been in that exact situation as
So
a game master.
I asked Diane to actually illustrate the Crowmaster and the husks and
Nice.
and the murderer ravens. Yeah, I want to release those individually somewhere. I don't know where, but
Kind of gives me like the collector vibes from Darkest Dungeon.
A little bit.
Like,
a little bit. Yeah.
I love the collector.
So what is corruption or conflict looking for everybody tonight?
15.
Oh God. What about
20?
yourself, Colin? Whoa, Collinsworth.
I got 0, man. I'm kind of
Keegan?
disappointed.
Keegan
21.
with there you
Oh,
go.
God. So keep in
The
mind,
blackjack.
Collinsworth,
I win.
Yeah. So when you have no conflict, you can choose which direction you go.
Yeah.
Join us.
Toward belief or flaw. It's up to you.
It's
Join.
way harder to get belief ranks.
Yeah, it is.
It is. Yeah. Your choice. But for everybody else, for your remainder conflict, I rolled a 10.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I took 2 already.
Yeah. Man, oh man. Let's talk about tonight in character, a little bit of the in character stuff about what's going on with your character. And then I want to switch slightly and talk about some game mechanic stuff to wrap up the session. So let's get off this really dire music and let's cue up something a little bit more upbeat. This is Cue up. Yay! The Retro Electro live stream by the Prime Thanatos.
All right.
So let's start first with Keegan tonight. Like, what's so? I mean, we played quite a bit actually tonight, which is nice. But what's going on with Keegan right now?
I think it's just a whole bunch of indecision and a whole bunch of like just loss of self-confidence that continues to plague him and will probably continue to plague him. Especially because like the one person that he sees that is his rock, which is a scary thought, honestly, is Osbert, because Osbert tells him what to do.
Yeah.
And so the second he leaves Osbert, all of a sudden he sees him swarmed with crows and realizes that he made a mistake in leaving him, and now it's his fault. And so then he finds these two guys and he has no idea what's going on with them. And this goes back to, oh my God, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, if anything, in my life, because I don't know what this purple crap is that probably no one else ever knew, you know. So it's a whole bunch of that eating at him at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this during the week, and there is specifically there is a in Game of Thrones, like, I don't know if you remember this, the Bloody Mummers. Are you familiar with this?
Mm-hmm.
Like in the books, like the Bloody Mummers are led by Vargo Hoat, who's the guy who cuts off Jaime Lannister's hand in the books, not the same one from the show. But anyway, they call them the Bloody Mummers because they were basically a troop of like led by a performer.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminded me a little bit of Osbert's leadership. Imagine having like a not completely unhinged, but somebody who spent their years like placating and making others laugh, like in a dark, grim way. Suddenly, you're leader.
Yeah.
Peacock this motherfucker. That's very funny. So that's good. So 50 reward points. Let's move next to Osbert.
So Osbert has kind of been really miserable this like last session and this session was just with the rain and everything that's going on, just trying to just make it through this day. Like he didn't sleep well the last night, and everyone is like asking him for all these decisions, and as the day wears on, he's like leaning more and more towards his like deviant side, where it's like, I'm in a shitty situation, I'm just gonna wallow in my misery basically, and just like more and more throughout the day, just like, y'all are forcing me to make these decisions and stuff, and like he doesn't like planning. So
yeah,
I think when he's forced to plan, it just makes him miserable. So he may somehow managed to make it through, but I think kind of obviously the bright spot was the victory over the Crow Master, and the fact that it was almost like a serendipitous like drop in his lap, basically. Like, I can get this one victory today. So I think that's kind of like ending on somewhat of a high point for him.
Yeah, it's good. That's good. And he has that affliction too.
Foolish endeavors. When you rush into a situation without proper planning, again, 10% chance to succeed is kill test. So I could have even used it there, but I it slipped my mind, to be honest. But I'll have to remember that next time.
You're a very effective leader when you don't plan. Don't plan. No, 50 reward points. Let's move next to Calvin.
Yeah, so Calvin in this kind of session kind of took a backseat, part because of his roles, and then part because he just kind of wanted to let other people do things after all the stuff he did last session.
Yeah, I mean,
So
this is probably the worst roles I've seen you actually have recently.
No, it was terrible. Like, I got that one critical success to climb up a wall. That's it. Like, that was my only good roll.
Yeah.
Everything else was just like garbage. Let's re-roll to garbage. Let's re-roll to nep. All right. Well, sometimes the dice say no. So
yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, he's glad to have gotten, Credence the bonus of having Chauncey. Like, he did not expect to see Chauncey there, because like he heard his brother talking about before, that we thought Chauncey was dead.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we also thought Credence was dead. So hey, fantastic. But yeah, so it's good to get them out and then kind of question them, like, hey man, what's been going on? Like, where you been? What's the deal? Like, spill
Yeah.
the beans.
That's good. 50 reward points. So we'll move last to Collinsworth.
Well, Collinsworth is, at the end of the session, he's relieved, but just kind of the whole time during the session, he was trying to deal with, like, well, what do we do? What do we do? And was having a hard time trying to think of things to do because it wasn't as typical of like well, Osbert says so, let's do it sort of moments. It was having to try and think of something to do in what at first seemed like, like there's nothing to do. We can't go in the keep, we can't go out of the gate, we're kind of stuck. So yeah, he was relieved to find a way to get up into the tower, and then to see those people and basically see Keegan fall apart, and for him to somehow keep his wits about him. But that was just like a whole bunch of stress. And so that was when it was like, okay, we're making these decisions, we're taking action, because that's what Osbert would have done. And
Is it?
so well, he would have taken actions. Don't know if that's what he would have done, but
Right.
yeah. The whole thing of like, well, a bad decision is worse than none.
Yeah,
Is better than none.
yeah, very true. So 50 reward points. So I want to conclude tonight by talking about some game mechanics. I want this to be a constructive conversation. So this is specific to how we bring Flames of Freedom and Zweihander together. Just to kind of iron out some kinks in language, I think specific. So given the choice between using the word conflict versus corruption, which feels most comfortable for you? Is it corruption? Is it conflict?
I mean,
we've been using
corruption
corruption,
for so long. It's easy to get, but I'm okay with either.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
mainly
assume they're the same thing, So if something in Zweihander says conflict or corruption, and you give me conflict, I just assume it's the same thing mechanically.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it makes some of my abilities just there's no point.
Right. Well, it's clear. It's clearly the same thing, right? But this is really just about. I think we need to pick a word.
And stay with conflict if you want.
I mean, we've been using conflict the whole campaign.
We've been trying to do it this whole series. So yeah, stick with it.
Now, when we switch over to Queen of Embers, like that's a
conflict. I mean, corruption.
Like I don't know whether are we going to be using Flames of Freedom rules when we go back to Queen of Embers?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, absolutely. So, which makes more sense then? Is it order ranks or belief ranks? Is it chaos ranks or flaw ranks? Because we've always used the axiom of order chaos, but the reality of the way it's written in the book in Zweihander versus the way we use it around the table, Flames of Freedom actually mirrors the intention of how we use it around our game table, not the order chaos like eternal struggle stuff in Zweihander.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the quote unquote forces of chaos are really not a thing. Like in terms of like a strong presence in Mahoma is what
They're not.
I'm trying to like say is like it's as opposed to like the world of Warhammer or whatever.
Yeah.
Where it's like the old chaos gods and the Great Horned Rat and all this kind of stuff, and it's like that's definitely like corruption with a capital C, but like this I think is conflict works.
Inner conflict, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you all think about that?
Belief in.
I agree with Nick.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's fine. I feel like if it's going to be a belief mechanic as opposed to like an order and falling to chaos, because that's how I always saw it, right? It was like you're trying to bring order to your own life, or if you're falling to the chaos, right? Like that's what the two were supposed to be the dichotomy that goes between the two. And therefore it made sense that you could get more points in chaos than you would in order at a time, because you would kind of be falling towards that. If it's belief or whatever, I don't feel like you should be able to get more than one rank. Does that make sense?
One rank.
Belief and flaw.
Yeah, if it's
So-
belief and flaw, I kind of feel like those need to be like because you need to fall to them evenly, as opposed to potentially getting like two, because I had 21 corruption or conflict, whatever you want to call it, right? So I got 2 chaos or flaw ranks,
Mhm.
and and then 1 belief rank, because you didn't roll over the 1. So like, I feel like if it's going to go the belief section, then it needs to go only 1 point as opposed to multiple. At
So
least that makes more sense to me.
There's 2 challenges with that. One is it's the whole thing like 6 of a dozen, half of a 6 of one, half dozen the other. The way that we have used order and chaos historically is precisely how conflict was written in Flames of Freedom, like how we at our game table
Mm-hmm.
use order and chaos. It's what conflict in belief and flaw is. It is the struggle between like keeping my shit together and falling to my worst parts of myself, flaw. So that kind of as is. The problem is if you suddenly decide to cap it, is that there is no drawback to like go full on flaw, full on chaos. And that those things are there to curb abusive behavior. Now, I'm not saying that behavior is bad by any means, but I think that's a pretty significant rule change that we should explore offline.
Okay.
I'm not sold on it, but I would like to hear more about it.
As a game system, I understand the
Yeah.
balance there, but at our table, I feel like it would make more sense to do singular. I'll say
Well,
that.
I think that, and I'm just gonna say it out loud. I think we oftentimes think that mechanics will help us get around the narrative, and that's where I see the most tension happen. And I've been trying to reel some of that in because that is not the case. Just to be clear, that is not the case. We have to be cognizant, especially as we kind of unlock more power, unlock more abilities, especially if they're new. We have to be cognizant of the fact that mechanics can't solve every narrative problem, because then we rely on dice rolls as opposed to role playing. And I think back to one thing that Kay, you told me about 4 sessions ago, where like we want to focus more on the role play aspect. We all got to do it. So I think mechanics are there in service of the story. Those things are important to remember. I'm not saying we shouldn't do that, but I think we need to be very, very cognizant that we can't skill our way out of every problem. We can't rely on Osbert to tell us always what we do. That's why tonight was different. I made a conscious choice before coming to the game today. I was like, okay, I'm going to switch the dynamic and see what happens. And I saw everybody participating in different ways, which I feel doesn't happen a lot. I think we rely too much on Nick to drive your decision making. This is why I keep pressing on everybody individually.
I noticed
and
it.
kind of it's like, all right, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Mhm.
What are you doing?
Mhm.
Because it can't always be let's go do what Osbert tells us to do.
Right.
So just some observations about the game in general. Just things to think about, to marinate on.
And also, I think role playing wise, it's obvious that Osbert is not the best leader. So, feel free to chime in with a
Yeah.
voice of dissent.
I think this is, I mean,
Sure.
honestly, this is tough. It's tough playing remote. Like the sort of side conversations we would have when we played in person
Mhm.
definitely aren't there. We've adjusted to playing online. There's a
Yeah,
very different
it's
dynamic.
different.
And I'm trying to kind of slowly steer us in the directions I know that we have historically been comfortable with, and also be understanding and respectful of new ways of playing.
Is there a way that we can kind of facilitate these side conversations that we're like historically we've been able to do in an in-person setting?
Playing remote, I don't think it's possible now. I think okay, so here's this is a little bit high-minded, and I forgive me if I'm going a little bit off track here, but when I see other people play online, like they stream, like there's always like all the players understand that they're going to be given a moment during the game to focus solely on them, and they get to hog the spotlight, right?
Mhm.
That's the point, because it's entertainment.
Right.
I don't wholly agree with that for several reasons. It feels performative. I like the organic way we interact, and I think despite the fact we are playing remote, we still interact pretty organically, and that's mostly because we've been gaming together forever.
Right.
Whether it be me gaming with Adam or Kay gaming with Mike and Adam or whatever it may be, like there's different dynamics. Those things are there, so it's given us a really solid foundation, so we can interact organically. But what I'm going to continue trying to do is to be more understanding and forgiving. Like one of the bits of feedback you gave me is like just to be more forgiving of like mess ups, right? I think I've been doing better, and I think I would ask in return that we need to start thinking more on ensuring that we are doing our best to interact and role play, despite the fact that we have a digital divide. More specifically, because we don't want the game to just be about combat, right?
Right. Now, with that said, like, is there a way we can be like, Calvin can be like, I want to say something that Collinsworth and Collinsworth alone,
Absolutely.
The other group,
yeah.
The other group members can't hear.
Yeah. I would only urge caution about the inter-party conflict stuff, especially when you are here or they are there, or you all are just in general like disconnected. I want to avoid situations where we're edging people out. I'm really concerned that Keegan will become so isolated that you will just basically become a heal bot or an assist bot. I'm a little bit worried about that. And I know that's not what you're intending at all, Kay. But I think that especially when we're talking about a digital divide and we're talking about the fact that we just don't have a lot of these, the type of interactivity that we would want to have in person, we just have to be really cautious, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think if suddenly it's like, okay, so Calvin and Collinsworth step aside and we're having a private conversation for 20 minutes while Kay and Nick do nothing.
I wasn't saying like a 20-minute. I was saying like, 2-minute or less type of thing. Like, I want to just say this real quick to him, like a quick aside.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple times I did that in Queen of Embers.
Yeah, I think we could try some of that. I always try to listen to your cues, and then I will literally intercede and say, okay, I'm carving this part of the story out for just Keegan and Collinsworth because they're inside the building.
Right.
Like it's not important for them to understand really what's going on outside until after everything unfolds. I love splitting the party from that perspective because you could tell two independent stories, or even three sometimes. I try to take that narrative reins and do that, but I think but as far as it goes for like private conversations, we'll need to just be kind of careful with that.
I wouldn't want or expect anyone to take the spotlight for that long. That's just too much.
So let me switch gears here, and this is a question for Mike, and I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this. So this is so first off, you're the first person to really use the Flames of Freedom magic system wholesale and be given carte blanche to do what you want to do. We made a choice to like just say no limit on spells. Let's take what you want. To really try to bend and break and optimize and have fun with this. Have fun. Yeah. And bringing that together as Zweihander, I don't think it's been a challenge, but I'd like to hear your kind of thoughts on that because you're clearly the most experienced with it out of all of us.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been too bad of a challenge. Like I still have like the PDF of Zweihander up as well as like the Flame of Freedom PDF.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly like switching between both of them to be like, all right, well, this is how Dispel Magic works because that's in Zweihander, but it's not in Flames of Freedom. So it's definitely interesting to see those work together or not work together in some cases. So because I've looked through a lot of the witchcraft stuff and looked through a lot of just the general magic stuff. And I haven't really looked too much into the black and white magic or looked a little bit into alchemy. So it'll be interesting to see getting more into those. Yeah. But
and to your point, they're just to be clear for everyone around the table, because you all, I mean, Adam and Kay and Nick may not know this, and listeners definitely don't. There is no Dispel Magic in Flames of Freedom.
Right.
Spells in Flames of Freedom are nothing like the spells in Zweihander. They're so diametrically different thematically and mechanically. Like mechanically they kind of work the same. They mostly work.
Yeah, they're pretty similar.
But they don't replicate anything between the systems. And the ones in Flames of Freedom are by far more narrative than they are like fire and forget sort of stuff you find in Zweihander. So there's a very different approach. sorry, I just want to intercede with that real quick.
Yeah, they're definitely different. Like you have the themes for like the elementalist spells,
Mhm.
whereas you really don't have that in Flames of Freedom. It's just
Yeah.
here's a kind of generic. Here's your like generic magic. Here's your witch magic. Here's your black and white magic. Here's your alchemy.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of break it up that way. So it's going to be interesting to see because it's like, oh well, you're a pyromancer. Of course, you're throwing flames around, right? But
Yep.
that's not the case in Flames of Freedom.
Do you think then in that case, Mike, do you think it makes sense to actually, like, when this game is over, to continue using Flames of Freedom magic?
I mean, I would think it depends on what profession you're going with. Like if you're going
Mhm.
with a Zweihander profession, you could probably stick to Zweihander magic.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're picking a Flames of Freedom profession, you might stick with that. It'd be interesting if you went from like, well, the problem with Zweihander magic is you really kind of have to wait until your intermediate profession before you actually get into your like school of magic, right?
Yep. Yep.
So that's always kind of been a problem. But whereas that's not the case in Flames of Freedom, you just
Yeah.
can get in there. You just have to have the tiers, right? You have the beginning,
Mhm,
advanced, intermediate. So that makes it a lot more simple, I think.
Yeah.
And
no
I do
doubt.
like that kind of change, but I kind of wish that Zweihander had a like level 1 school magic.
Yep.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Adam.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
it's happening.
I think
Yeah.
what happens in the Zweihander game moving forward, just to be clear, and this is really about lessons learned. So I'll explain the way it works in Zweihander, the lesson learned, and then how I think we can adjust it for our Zweihander game moving forward. So, then additionally in Zweihander, you're right. You start out in a profession and you get generalist magic, and that's all you get. It's not until an intermediate tier that you unlock petty, lesser, greater,
Mhm.
which is weird because you have like another tiering of spells that don't match up with the tier that you're in,
Right.
right? So petty, lesser, greater, magic, basic, intermediate, advanced tier. So the change in Flames of Freedom was to say there's no petty, lesser, greater. It's basic, intermediate, advanced, and you have to be at least in that tier to use that spell. So I think the pivot we would make for Zweihander spells is to say you can learn anything you want as a Diabolist. Let's say you're a Diabolist. I want some cool spells from Pyromancy. I want the petty spells from Pyromancy. Cool, you can do that. And assume that petty is basic tier, lesser is intermediate, in advanced, and greater is advanced.
Mhm.
But you also have the layer of generalist magic in there. So I think the change is learn as you the intelligent, the willpower bonus limit for spells. That comes into play with the arcanas or the prayers. So like you can only, like if your willpower bonus is only 7, you only learn 7 petty, 7 lesser, 7 greater. But generalist, completely uncapped. You can learn all 27 if you wanted to. That I think is the switch for Zweihander that'll make things more interesting and fun. And when you move into becoming a pyromancer, you're an even more powerful pyromancer because you've got this really cool thing you can do. So yeah, you could go Diabolist to pyromancer to whatever, or you could go Diabolist and remain in Diabolist and still continue unlocking spells, and then move to Archmage as an example. I think that's the kind of the pivot, and that's about lessons learned from, 5 years back now, 4 years back since the Zweihander's been out. And that was applied to Flames of Freedom, that specifically to simplify it. Even though I think thematically the different professions are interesting, I don't think that they give players what they want out the gate. So so with that being said, I think in our Zweihander game, it's how we'll probably treat it too.
Yeah, because I know I went with the adherent, I think,
because you'll want to be able to use advanced tier spells for your adherent.
Sure.
Right?
That'd be great.
I mean, yeah. So we could say advanced tier spells are literally, greater spells are literally advanced tier. And we'd create a comprehensive spell list that would make sense for your character. To finish that chapter out. So, well, that's good to know. So I think this is kind of the final question I have, and I certainly invite you all to ask some questions too. But perilous stunts versus rough and tumble. Which of those two systems do you like the best?
I mean, in what way are they particularly different?
Well,
There's-
so
Other than, you know, the few minor things where it's like, oh, we collapse these two into one or whatever.
so we know that they have fixed critical success and critical failure stuff. We also know that rough and tumble lasts until the end of combat, as opposed to perilous stunts, which lasts until your beginning of your next turn comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like a lot of the things out of Flames of Freedom, but yeah, the lasting through combat has sometimes put some people in a real bind, which, you know, is working as intended. But you know, that can also make combat last longer. I don't mind a longer combat, but I know some people have expressed they'd want it to be quicker.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
we, you know, I think what you have been saying this whole time is we really shouldn't mix and match. We should find one to use. Is that what I'm picking up?
I think so. Because I think that, like, taking perilous stunts and creating outcomes based on Flames of Freedom is super simple. Like creating crit success, crit failure states for perilous stunts. Like, that's a pretty easy lift for me. It's just I think it's just a matter of there's kind of two things at play, right? The first is less die rolls. Less die rolls, the better, right? That's why rough and tumble is interesting, because it's less die rolls and less things to remember to do at the beginning of your turn. The second is the speed of combat. It slows down combat a little bit if you get hit by one of those rough and tumbles. But as we spoke about a couple weeks ago, we're like, hey, remember, you can always spend a fortune to edit the situation to simply say, I find a way out of that condition. And more often than not, I forget to use rough and tumble states on you unless it's like a quote named enemy. Then I'll make specific choices in combat to disable people with combat conditions. So
I understand that position. Yeah, as a GM, it's sometimes really hard to remember all the stuff you would as a player.
and to address the speed of combat in general, right? There are ways around that, but typically those ways make perilous stunts and rough and tumble less useful. And that's through the use of escalation dice. So I don't know. Some of you, Dan, Kay, I don't think you played this when we used this rule. I don't think Nick did either, but Mike and Adam probably remember this. If you remember, if we used to do the escalation die around the table and the dice would start, and if everybody role played out what they're doing around the table, at the beginning of the next round, I moved it to a 2. And basically that number would be the additional damage you'd add to your attack if you attacked. But the first time somebody fucked up, it reset to 1.
Yeah,
Tim Yoder. and in the heat of the moment, whoever. And it was for players only, by the way, not for enemies.
Right. I think you know, that was interesting. I don't know. That got pretty ridiculous because
Sounds super OP.
if Tim Yoder remembered, then we get some ridiculous damage going.
It's back when we actually had, this is like prior to Grimdark, it's back when we had wound points as opposed to thresholds.
Yeah.
Silhouette character sheets with the black and red.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was good for players because if players remembered and quote role play, they got rewarded for it. Right.
Yeah.
And that changed because then we said, okay, now there's perilous stunts. Perilous stunts came in with the Grimdark edition. And we moved to the thresholds. We had perilous stunts because we had all these other things you could do, but we divorced it from like talents. We said, okay, now it's like an actual thing anybody can do.
Well, you're enticing us to role play because, you know, when I first started, you know, I had played plenty of role-playing games, but I haven't been playing the type of role-playing game you wanted to run.
Yeah.
And so that was a reward for saying, okay, instead of I hit him, you know, I describe what I'm doing. You know, I'm gonna hit him. Okay, how? And so that was that reward was getting us to do that.
Yeah, ultimately that's the way to speed up combat, to address just some general pain points I've heard from people, is like, I wish combat was faster. And I think there's like a D&D, as I was reading this the other day, at heroic tier, the average length of combat is 3 rounds. 3 rounds. Zweihander, it's typically 4 or 5. In my experience, observationally, when I track rounds, typically 4 or 5. But a lot happens in that time because we have a very tactical game. So, of course, combat sometimes feels long. Like, we could spend an entire session in combat if we had to, unless we were fully optimizing the situation, which is pretty rare. There are ways around that. Popcorn initiative is a good way to handle that, which is like a different initiative model. You're familiar with this initiative model?
Mm-hmm.
Whoever rolls highest goes first, and they hand initiative off to anybody else they want to. Could be an enemy or a friend. There's the ping pong initiative, which is if players go first, they must pass an enemy. The enemy has to pass it back to a player. Player has to pass an enemy. So basically, you always ping pong it back and forth between the enemy and the allies, but you choose who you want to go next. Which is really interesting. That helps speed up combat too, but of course you have to deal with the new initiative model.
So I feel like a little unfair to people who have like a high agility bonus.
Well,
or whatever.
yeah, just to be clear, like, these are not things that we should do. I'm just saying there are different initiative models that solve some of the speed of combat. But I think where I'm kind of leading with this is, to get back to where we started, which is better for our play style? Is it perilous stunts or is it rough and tumble?
So my question is, like, so with rough and tumble, you have these status effects that remain till the end of combat, and and the design decision behind that, or the choice behind that design decision, is to speed up combat.
Yes.
But the fact that it stays on the whole combat slows down combat. So it's like you have these like two things, like your less die rolls, but you can do less on your turn. So it's like that. It's a design. To me, it feels like a design decision that works counterintuitive to itself. And me personally, I don't mind tracking stuff a little bit, but like I get that how some people it's hard. It's just one more thing to do for some people. So me personally, I like perilous stunts, but someone else may disagree, and I'm fine with that. If whatever we want to do, I'm not going to make a big stink about it. What I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And to be clear, the rough and tumble ones that last until end of combat is below the belt, which is you must spend additional action point for moon actions until the end of combat, or eye gouge, which is you have to spend an additional action point for reactions until the end of combat. The one that we're thinking about that is complicating combat is targeted attack, which is Flames of Freedom's answer to called shot, to making it useful. So I guess ultimately the question is like, which do we like better? Would we rather attempt to resist the beginning of our turn every single turn for these abilities, or do we think that one and done, we're out, we can escape out of it if we use coins is the better approach?
I mean, I get we can use the coins, so it's fine. I'm like fine with the decision if we stuck with rough and tumble, but I think everyone around the table is just used to perilous stunts. So I mean, what do you guys all think?
It's funny, 25 game sessions still doesn't break old habits. right? Observationally, it's interesting.
I mean, we've been playing the same game for going not 10 years, but going on close to it for some people.
I guess go ahead, sorry.
For me, what would help me the most. Okay, so first off, are you asking for our table, like just to make sure I understand, for our
Yeah,
table
for
and
our
the
table.
words we use? Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it would it would help me if I knew, okay, we're playing Flames of Freedom, so we should look at Flames of Freedom, we should do these things, and then if we want to incorporate a few things from Zweihander like professions and stuff, that's what we're going to do. Or we're going to be playing Zweihander and we have the ability to take some options from Flames of Freedom like professions and things like that, because I think ultimately that's what people are going to have to do at home too, is they're going to be like, okay, which system are we taking?
Mhm.
Okay, then we can take things from the other and convert them in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think to that point, it's about like, how do we codify our home game so we have clear expectations and assumptions? My assumption has always been we're using Flames of Freedom combat. That's what we've been using ostensibly.
Mhm.
We haven't worried about Sunder Shield because one,
No one has a shield.
nobody ever used it in our games, or not ever, rarely. I don't want to say ever, but rarely. And on top of that, we also had Subdue as an action, which nobody, once again, ever used. So that's just a part of your attack. But there are clearly some perilous sets that are kind of fun from Zweihander that may belong here. Maybe Sunder Shield does. I don't know. But I guess my point is like, I just want to be clear that we're all on the same page, that Flames of Freedom is the combat system we're using, right? And with that being said, is there anything in Zweihander we want to port back into our game from Zweihander's game's combat system? Just to be clear. My assumption is no.
Well, I mean, it could also be something that, I mean, because I'm seeing a look of like gears turning on everyone's face.
Yeah.
I mean, it may,
a lot to think like, oh,
Yeah.
think of all the rules in Zweihander. What would
Yeah.
you like?
Well, no. Let's be clear. This is not, here's the world decide. We're talking specific about combat, specific about rough and tumble and perilous stunts. Like, we're not entertaining anything beyond that. I'm narrowing the scope.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the question, if the scope is perilous stunts and rough and tumble, which system do you prefer more? If you prefer the simplicity of rough and tumble, we leave it as is. If you prefer perilous stunts but want to see critical success, critical failure states for those actions, I can accommodate that. It's a matter of what we're going to be most comfortable with.
well, I'll let everyone think on it before I get my opinion.
I mean, I think we just stick with rough and tumble since we're primarily using Flames of Freedom. We might as well use that because, like you said, there's a couple perilous stunts that, like maybe Dirty Tricks is the only other thing I can think of because, like you said, Splinter Shield no one uses really.
Mhm.
Their Subdue is a special action, but we kind of bake that into the rules of, do you want to kill this person? No. Okay, well then you don't, right? Because that was the problem with Zweihander, was how do you capture someone without killing them? Right?
Right.
And that was the need of Subdue. But
In Flames of Freedom, it's just asked at the end of combat.
exactly right. When you would slay them, do you want to knock them unconscious instead? Yes. Okay, great. And then sometimes you have to roll if it's a bear, but things happen. But I mean, because Zweihander has several things that already lasted until the end of combat, right? They had Inspiring Words, they had Litany of Hatred, which got combined, in Flames of Freedom, so that's kind of known. But I mean, not all rough and tumbles last until the end of combat. Like Chokehold doesn't last until the end of combat.
That's right.
Knockdown Prone doesn't last until the end of combat. That'd be silly. You're fighting on your back like a turtle. You just get up, right? So, I mean, we're already kind of mixing some things in here, so there's no like hard and fast rules. So, I mean, I think if it makes sense narratively to pull something from Zweihander, go for it.
What do you think, Kay? I know you're not super hot on combat, but I am curious to hear from you on this.
No, I'm perfectly fine with keeping rough and tumble. I think the reason that I like rough and tumble though also is because it gives you more than one option to attempt to do an action.
Yeah.
That's my
Uh-huh.
other thing that makes it
Yeah, that's definitely nice.
better than the perilous stunts. Yeah, because perilous stunts, what I found myself doing was, instead of like being like narratively this makes sense or this is what my character actually wants to do, what I'd do is I'd go, what skill do I have the best chance at actually pulling off? And I feel like this kind of got rid of that. And as
Yeah.
opposed to me going, well, this is the one I have the highest on, so obviously I'm going here. Like I can actually kind of more steer towards this is going to be more useful to actually do. Plus, I know it's not the rough and tumble stuff, but I like the new words as weapons, plus the new first aid, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and quick load. So I want to keep those.
Quick load's a trap. Don't do it. You're gonna get knocked out.
It is a trap. It is a
I've
trap.
used it. I've used it a few times now, and I have yet to get knocked out. Try me.
It's a trap. That's right. Yeah. It's a trap, just like moving out of combat is.
Yeah.
But, yeah. No, that's good to hear, Kegs. Yeah, I think that, well, specifically those special actions, words as weapons, and first aid, and are both really nice. Quick load is great in a pinch, especially if you have the upper hand or they don't have any action points. But yeah, I think rough and tumble, the opportunity to choose between two skills is helpful. That's the feedback we got a lot from people. It's like, I really like this skill. I really like this perilous stunt, but I can't use it. Like, I don't have the skill. So it's still, it didn't count. It was designed to allow people who didn't have simple melee, simple range to do things. But it didn't, there wasn't a broad enough skill spread.
Fair point.
Granted, there's more perilous stunts in Zweihander than there is in Plains of Freedom.
Yeah,
6 perilous stunts versus 4 rough and tumble.
It didn't matter at the end of the day because you were going to use the one that you had the highest skill for anyway. That was the most useful, and so you just use the same ones over and over again anyway, right? For the most part.
That's right. Excuse me.
So.
No, it's absolutely right. Yeah. So do you think so Adam, you said you're gonna go ahead.
Yeah. Like, I think it's more exciting to be able to roll a resist every turn because it's like kind of an on your edge to see sort of thing. But I don't, and that's where I would be leaning towards perilous stunts. But I also am just leaning back on, after hearing those two, yeah, we should probably do rough and tumble.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So final round of questions. Any mechanics kind of top of mind that are kind of like something you want to talk about to everybody that we may want to think about pass ruling or changing for our game? I can't think of too many situations we haven't addressed already or previously or even now.
Right.
I mean, but that's always something that, so long as we address it in plenty of time, we could bring up later, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just anything that's, just while we're on the topic, if there's anything from a game mechanics perspective, like, are there too many guns in the game? Would you like to move back to having more, melee weapons? Like those sort of considerations, like, because this game has been all about distance, which has made it really interesting and challenging in a lot of ways. But
yeah, at some point, what I think would probably be a good idea for just my character to do would be to see about trading out the weapon, because I had a bow, and it was turned into a self bow, but the bow I had was simple ranged and the self bow is martial ranged. And so I haven't really used that self bow because I don't have martial range.
Self bow was so nice.
Oh, it's a fantastic bow.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but I don't have martial range. So
yeah.
But I mean, yeah, that's stuff we can take care of next week when we're doing our thing.
Yeah, I have one thing I wanted to mention that I thought was a really clever mechanic that's from Flames of Freedom. That's a fix from Zweihander. So if you remember in Zweihander, there's 2 tables you look at whenever you interact with people. The difference in social class, and then their order and chaos rank differences. In Flames of Freedom, it's just based on their disposition. That's it.
I've noticed that we haven't really done social intrigue events this campaign much.
We haven't.
Right.
Based on the choices you've all made.
I know.
Honestly,
that's kind of one thing I've missed.
I
is
tried.
I really like social intrigue
Yeah.
events.
I tried
mean,
at the beginning.
the feedback I heard is that you don't really want to do a lot of politicking, and the choices you've kind of made are leading you toward a lot of
Fair enough.
conflict.
Fair
Not
enough.
just conflict with a capital C, but conflict in general. So we can always, that dynamic can always change. Just keep in mind that if we are literally staring, if we're looking at June, right? It's not very long. It's not a long ways away. Like, to make a dynamic shift in the direction our game is going right now would be weird. But we should certainly entertain more situations to role play. I think that's the thing that's kind of the missing piece of the puzzle. I do think that social interactions are important. Don't get me wrong. I think we should find opportunities for that. But we are literally probably like, I don't know, like 7-8 game sessions out from actually being done with this. So, I mean, think about it. It's already April 21st.
Mm-hmm. I get my second shot tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's just around. I mean, everyone's getting their shots pretty quick. So we'll be in person. We'll be in person in June, all of us. So nonetheless, I appreciate you taking time. I know we extended by about a half hour, but I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. It's been kind of on my mind, and glad we had the opportunity to record it and talk about it too, because I know people are really interested in hearing about how we are playing Flames of Freedom and Zweihander at our game table. We get a lot of questions about it on Discord. And there's actually rules in there's actually in the historian's secrets in Flames of Freedom, this big book right here, about how to blend the two together. But what we use at our table, obviously, it's like, it always goes back to this adage I always think about, like, even the D&D designers are house ruling their D&D rules, despite the fact that they write D&D.
Right.
Like Jeremy Crawford's home game, house ruled.
That's just a reality of role playing in general. Like, every game table I've ever played around, there's always a house rule of some sort.
Yep. It's absolutely true.
Yeah.
No tables included.
Yeah.
My table has very few house rules, but it does, and that's mainly in character creation.
Yep.
Mhm.
There's, and I think it's important to distinguish the difference between a house rule in Game Master Fiat.
Sure.
Right. And that's where I go back to. It's like the concentration conversation tonight. It's a good example. It's like, concentration means a little concentration. So the mechanics may not necessarily reflect it, but if you're breaking concentration, it probably means a spell is done.
Yeah.
Right? So not to pick on you, Mike, just to kind of use it as an immediate example. Of
It was the
where,
same thing with the professional trade a couple weeks
That's
ago.
right. That's right. Which will errata in Mongosh.
Mhm.
But nonetheless, yeah. So I think we just have to remember that at the end of the day, that like, it is our game, and we should make house rules that work for us. I certainly encourage us to have those conversations before and after the game, even by email if necessary. But thanks for chatting about it. I'm glad we got some of that out of the way. It makes me feel a little bit more comfortable about the rule calls I'm making, and we're clearly all on the same page. So I guess for our listeners and viewers, thank you for tuning in tonight. This is probably a little bit of a longer one than we normally do, but hopefully it gives you some insight around Flames of Freedom and our home game table. Next week, you should see, an act of God or whatever else may happen. Tim will be here in person. So he'll be here at the table with us too. And we will all eventually be in person, and we will conclude Queen of Embers. Oh my gosh, that's just crazy to think about right now. I'm gonna have to rewatch a lot of. We've done recap episodes. So if we just listen to the recap episodes, we're roughly 90 minutes each. There's a recap. There's like 4 recaps. That should catch us all up on the broad strokes. And I've got pretty extensive notes too myself, but we'll have to do a little work. But that's not until June. So
I have really extensive notes, but they're in that table.
That's right. Keegan, you just gotta, that's right. They're over here on the other side. We just gotta.
Yeah, Elisa's journal.
Yeah.
I mean, it would probably be good if we did a recap session first, because I mean,
yeah.
There's a lot of people that watched Queen of Embers 2 years ago. And
yeah,
probably don't want to have to watch the entire series again.
No. I imagine what we'll do that. I have some thoughts around how we can kick off the first session. It probably won't be like a heavy game session. It'll be mostly let's talk about what happened, remember what happened, and about the motivation specifically behind it, behind character decisions, behind decisions that happen with major NPCs in the game, who's the major players, who's the major enemies, what you've discovered, et cetera, et cetera. But we'll certainly cover that when we get to that point in June.
Mhm.
But nonetheless, I'm excited to revisit that. I'm excited for our next game session, Desperation Point. I'm excited for Tim to join. I'm excited to have a full big group again. And I'm excited that people continue to watch and support the Patreon, because without your patron dollars, we would not have rations and be able to continue developing all the new monsters of the month, pay for artwork from Diane and all the other contributors, including Kay and Jason, who recently created their first monster of the month I saw on Patreon today. So if you haven't seen it yet, check it out. Other than that, we will see you, or you will hear us, or whatever, next week. Bye. This is the long wave. Bye.
There she is, Miss America.
Moving your wrist way too much for that. It's or your hand to it. It's supposed to just be
Yeah,
this.
yeah. It shows how much I know.